Welcome everyone to the Fader Connections Path of Exile community podcast. This time it's episode number 45. We've just been hit like a truck by Grinding Gear Games 3.13 announcement, where we heard the first time about the echoes of the Atlas expansion, the upcoming Ritual League, and massive Ascendancy changes, as well as new stuff in general being added to the game. And in order to discuss this tonight, here with you are not only your hosts BalorMage and I, but we got the lovely Mairian and Tryxt. And before I digress, let's just throw the ball over to Mairian and just dive. Oh wait, do you want to start? I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't want to.
Like you're on the spot.
Yeah, you're on the spot. You want to introduce yourself?
Okay.
And tell everyone what you're all about in regards to PoE?
Okay, so my name is Mairian, and lots of people call me Mar. It's shorter, easier to remember. And I play Path of Exile, I want to say casually, but probably not very casually, because I get 40-40 challenges every league, so I grind a lot, but I do it very casually. And yeah, I play usually softcore, trade league, and I just like killing bosses and doing challenges, and doing some art on the side, basically.
I was worried you were not going to mention that. There's this very famous. I thought I showed that in the beginning before we started the call. When people asked about the guests tonight, there's this very famous greeting card that you did with the butt of a certain Path of Exile character.
Yeah, well, there are some nice pieces in my collection.
Wait, what? That was Silk, right?
Yes.
I don't know anything about this.
You don't know that the silk spot? Okay, I have to show it.
It has been given away a long time ago. I mean, it was people snatched it as soon as it was available, basically. Yeah, well, I mean, you can admire him in game, but
yeah, but not in all that glory.
Yeah, not in that.
Not so shiny. I'm gonna have to show it on the screen so people know what we're talking about, because it is quite a while back. When did you do that? It was 2-3 years ago, right?
Yeah, maybe like 3 years ago, maybe 2. I don't remember. Some years ago.
Yeah, there's always when I go through this, there's some awesome art here. So yeah, this is the paper cut watercolor art of Silk's Behind.
Silk in all its curvaceous glory.
Yeah.
149 weeks. Dude, that's almost 3 years.
Yeah.
Why does that remind me of Flanders? Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Are you gonna revisit Silk's Behind now that you got the drawing tablet?
Probably not. Probably not. I mean, if there's like a huge demand, maybe. Probably not.
I think there'd be a demand.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. And then sell it as a t-shirt.
No, well, wouldn't I be infringing on some rights there?
True, you can't sell it.
Imagine getting sued by Grinding Gear Games for Silk's butt.
Well, it's a valuable asset they have, so.
Hey.
You know
Hey.
what? All media attention is good media attention.
Well.
Awesome. Well, that puts things into context. Tryxt, do you want to tell us real quick what your main thing is in Path of Exile and where you're coming from?
Sure. So I'm a Path of Exile solo self-found hardcore player primarily. I started SSF way back in like Essence League. It started off as a joke, actually, playing SSF. And then it kind of went from there. And I don't know, I used to race a little bit back when Camel used to run those races way back. I'm now just a washed up pseudo racer. So
Hey,
yeah,
you can
that's my
still
usual
reclaim your glory.
I can tell you real quick the story of why I started SSF. The buddy who got me into Path of Exile, he's a really good PoE player. He used to actually be a professional World of Warcraft player. So he always used to like racing, and he used to start a new character, pretty much an alcoholic, right? Every day, new character. And we'd always get a message, me and my one other RL buddy, would get a message saying, waypoints? Every single day on his new character. And so one day, finally, him and I were just chatting about, like, we're sick of this, right? Yeah, let's just go play SSF. SSF just got released. We're just going to go jump into SSF. And so we did that. And next day, waypoints? No, sorry, man, we're SSF. He's like, you know what? I actually wanted to play SSF too.
Nice.
Never went back to trade, basically. So, yeah, it's been years, and that joke's still going, apparently.
Hey, you got him into solo self-found. He's self-sufficient now.
Yep.
I mean, I totally understand that. I also think that SSF is making the game a lot more enjoyable for me myself in various aspects. I mean, if I was to grind out the challenges, then I would probably also prefer to not go SSF and possibly even softcore. But just I like to play the game as a roguelike, where I'm like, let's see how far I get on this character, and then whatever is left in the stash, I make a new character off of.
I think the best way somebody put it to me was just, they're like, yeah, you like playing the game on starvation rations, pretty much.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not. I have so little interest in solo self-found. I like to also play the rest of the game. But I can't.
Yeah, if I didn't have as much time as I do currently, I would probably switch into a trade league of some kind. But having the availability of all the coronavirus time in the world, you know what? SSF still works real well for me.
Yep. Good opportunity.
And also, I mean, well, not to just jump into 3.13 already, but with Harvest coming back, all the new stuff. Oh man.
Gimme. Even as a trade league player, if you're not so inclined to trade all the time, making your own gear is still satisfying.
I'm also a firm believer that anything they can do to make a character or a player more self-sufficient is a good thing for the game. Whether or not you play solo self-found is inconsequential almost. I know that, I get a lot of flack every so often, like, oh yeah, because SSF, by the way. But lab trials, creating your own gear, etc., that's always more fun to do yourself, whether or not you're in a trade league or not.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed.
But also, if you're playing in sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say, if you're playing in a group, it's nice to share lab trials and share stuff. But if you're playing basically solo in a trade league, then it's nicer to be self-sufficient, because not everyone likes to min-max trade, like you say. Not everyone likes to fully embrace the flipping and trading and stuff. But again, I didn't mean to cut you off. What did you want to say?
No, I was just saying, I've tried to play hardcore in the past, but I rage too much. That's it. It's not good for my mental state. I am a salty person, so I can't play hardcore. I can't suffer the loss of everything. I just can't deal with it. So I play softcore.
Hey, I've seen you race before. I saw you, Amy Cat, Ophelia, and Arcaden.
That is different.
You won.
Short races is because your goal is, let's say, to get to Marvale, and that's it. That's fine. But when you're racing, for example, what we had in Mayhem, like you have to get the highest level, or flashback, whatever highest level you can possibly get, and you get to a certain point, like you get to maps and suddenly you die, and you're like, I have to start from, not completely from the beginning, right? But I have to go through this whole stress of freaking, no, I'll play softcore. Thank you very much.
Even 1 day races in hardcore aren't that bad, right? Because you're like,
yeah,
I'm going to dedicate a day to it, and if I die, I die. When it's a 7-day race, you're like, oh man, I've worked on this for 3 days and it's gone.
Yeah, no. The short races I can get behind, and also it makes sense in hardcore, right? Because you get to a natural stopping point. Like you couldn't get further, you died. Be it your fault or not your fault, logging out, whatever. But when it comes to these really long races, I can't deal with it. The loss of my character is just devastating.
The secret is
biggest
it's
issue for me,
always your fault.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the issue is for me, when it's not my fault. Actually, in both gauntlet races, Packet lost death.
Oh.
Yeah, but to be fair, at least for the second gauntlet race, the Packet lost death was 48 hours in, so at least I was able to come back and play a good chunk, and ended up actually doing decently well. That was a lot of fun. That was so much fun. I don't like the races where we just had, I personally I leveled to 100 in hardcore trade for the flashback event. I did that, I hate myself for it so much.
But didn't you have some kind of weird issue that happened with person that transferred from solo self-found or something? Did that get resolved?
Yeah, so it didn't quite get resolved, but not to go into too much of a tangent, but what happened was about 5 minutes before I hit level 100, the person who was the solo self-found hardcore necro who hit 100 before me transferred to trade. They migrated in, so they yoinked the number 1 demi. On PoE Racing, it still says that I'm number 1 necro and says that I was number 5 overall. But I took a day off. I slowed down because the guy that was in front of me ripped at 99. I was 98, and I was like, well, there's me and one other necro. I got a level on him. I'll take a day off, spend time with family, do all that. Then I'll push the next day. Woke up the next morning, and the guy was riding my coattails pretty quickly, gaining on me. So I had to push, and then started the push, and then he gave up, and then I slowed down again, and didn't really realize that the enemy I didn't know was the one that was going to pass me by just migrating over. So I made a little tweet about it, just saying it was a really fun race. It's unfortunate that happened at the end, and Bex actually responded to it, saying that they're on holiday right now. Next week she'll get back to me, but she didn't get back to me.
Oh no!
I don't exactly want to like at Bex and be like, "Hey, I know you got a lot of stuff to do."
You know, that a league announcement thing, you know, but
yeah.
I mean, as long as you're like polite about it, Bex is like fine. Especially if it's something she said, I'll get back to you on and is forgotten about, because like she will be swamped, but also
I mean, especially because it's an actual issue. Because the person who got the demi in SSF HC should not be able to migrate out and get a second demi on the same character. Like, so it just makes no sense.
2. So what happened was, okay, so Lived Man is his name. He's top tier racer. In fact, he got Trade League Hardcore number 1 Necro because he migrated. And what he did was he cannibalized his character in its entirety and utilized all the contracts that he had previously to then also get SSFHC number 1 Necro after that. So he leveled 2 Necros to 100 in solo self-found before anybody. Unfortunately, Octavian ripped from a crash. He was the next person who would have gotten to 100 on a Necro. But he basically just took all of his gear, took all of the stuff, and then just pushed to level 100, which is a lot easier to do the second time when you have everything already in place, right? But
especially when you've intentionally done it and taken your gear.
Yeah.
He basically lapped everybody.
Yeah.
Like, so he did beat me to 100 naturally, but and even if I had pushed probably the day before without taking that day off, he very likely would have just watched my XP and then migrated beforehand anyways, knowing that he had the capacity to be able to still get number 1 in solo self-found hardcore and another necro. But it's unfortunate that it is that way. I know there's nothing that can be done for me, which whatever, it is what it is. But I just don't want anybody else to have that feeling, because that feeling sucks.
Yeah, it feels like migration should be just turned off.
Yeah, I thought that you weren't able to migrate in these events.
Yeah,
that didn't work like that in the Mayhem, but it did in the flashback.
That would suck to be like, yes, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna push, and then just somebody just migrates in front. You're like, wait, they're not even on the list. Like what?
Yeah.
Like where did you come? This is not a name. I know the next 10 necromancers. I've got them in a list. They've been on my second monitor for the last 3 days.
Yeah, I had the PoE Racing ladder tracker, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna hit 100. This feels so great. This feels so great. This feels. Why does it say number 2?
Surprise!
That must have felt so bad.
Yeah, hitting 100, I was like, why did I even do this?
I had a similar yikes. It was the other day on the last character I played on the flashback. I don't know what level I was, but basically what happened is I played a little bit off stream and there was really bad spikes, and so I logged out in Delve and I didn't think anything of it. Character was still alive, and then a couple hours later, I talked to my housemate. And I showed him my character on the ladder because I was gonna try to boast a little bit that I'm on the ladder and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm actually competing because he's fairly casual. And it turns out my character was dead on the ladder. And I was like, what? And I went into the game because I was like, shit, did I die? And I didn't notice. And I looked, and the character was still in the league. And so Vero, the guy who helps Sis a lot with the race organizing and stuff like that, actually pointed it out to me under my tweet on Twitter that apparently the character must have died right before a server reroll, and the death got rerolled. So you remain dead on the ladder, but the character is actually still can still go back up on the ladder, and it's so weird because
this happened actually in the Mayhem race as well. One of the guys is pushing on the ladder. He died, and then a minute later, he was the first to reach a new level because he got rolled back.
I guess the GGB gods were shining upon him that day.
Yeah. And I think he was on Assassin as well, so it was one of those ones where it was a highly contested spot, and everyone was going nuts for it, and then he dies and like, oh, he's dead. Just kidding.
Backseat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird.
That's incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
They really, for the next event, they should really try and make the ladder consistent with that. Like when the stuff gets rerolled, that the dead or alive status on the ladder is correctly updated.
It worked in your favor. Shh. It's fine.
Hey, nothing bad happened, right?
Well, I guess, yeah, the other people competing, I mean, if I was actually going to get into top 5 Inquisitor on that character, I guess the other people wouldn't have seen me coming, because they would have looked at the ladder and it's like, oh, that guy's dead. He's not a threat.
I can relax now, right?
Nice XP meter, dead guy.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. It didn't actually show XP per hour, because the PoE racing for a dead character always assumes that they don't gain XP anymore. So it doesn't show XP per hour. It actually always shows
you were actually like a sneaky assassin there.
Yeah, exactly. Like a ghost.
Yeah.
A shadow.
Oh no.
Exactly.
Tormented spirit.
Only Shadow Inquisitor. So the BalorMage wandered off because we did too much small talk. He wanted to talk about the league announcement, but he was like,
yes. He's very excited.
He got joined by Mathel at least for a few moments there.
What?
Oh, just on the trailer, it's Mathel there.
Oh, right. Oh, it's auto-playing Mathel because he's talking about his stuff. Yeah. That's what happens when you just play the center view screen from YouTube.
Nice.
Kind of restart the Atlas. But yeah, let's just talk about not the content of the reveal, but quickly about the form of the reveal. How did you guys like it that GGG did a big event on their main channel rather than having the announcement page and the trailer out and some coverage from other pages? They actually did an entire proper program for us with the trailer and the big reveal and explanations, and then also a Q&A hosted by Ziggy D on the channel with Chris Wilson, and then right afterwards a Bayclast. What do you guys think? Do they have to do that for every expansion now? Yes.
It was really cool. And what I thought was even more cool was that Wings promotion, because even if you were normally not gonna watch this thing, this was one of the incentives for you to now actually tune in to spike those numbers. Not only, and it kind of brought hype. I feel like so many people watching. Also, the reveals were so cool. Let's be honest, they were really freaking cool. The Maven, come on, girl power, and yeah,
there's the Wings. Really cool. Perfect timing. Wings on the screen.
So I think it was great that they hosted it on the official channel. I don't know if they had to have Bayclast there, but I mean, it's cool. It's cool because, that Bayclast was, apart from people who are AFKing to farm those wings, I mean, I think it was watched by more people than ever before. So I think it was really, really cool involving community. I mean, Path of Exile has always, like GG has always been really listening to the community or trying to listen to the community. So this was really great. I think they should do this. I don't know if for league reveals this works, because I don't know if there's enough content unless they do a big league like Heist again, but it could be really cool. They could do more stuff with their official Twitch channel, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree 100%. They need to do more of this kind of reveal when it comes to expansions. I'm not sure if it's really required for a league, just because honestly, if you do this for every single league, you're just going to wear out the audience before you actually do it for an expansion. But I thought it was brilliant. It was one funny thing that I kept saying during that 100 push actually was, it's amazing what people like myself will do for just that carrot on a stick. And that's what the wings were too. Just this little incentive that you didn't, it's really innocuous. It's nothing major, but it's an incentive nonetheless. And there's a lot of people who will tune in just for that type of incentive. But what I really liked about the whole entire reveal is that it went in kind of a sequence. Like you get this reveal of a trailer, you get a bit of a Q&A, or all the director's commentary talking about it. You get a Q&A, and then you get to sit down with all the 5 heads watching Bayclast digest this even more. So it kind of goes in sequence of, okay, I'm a fairly casual individual who just wanted to see this trailer. Cool, I'm good. I want a little bit more information. I want even more information. Now I want the 5 head, if you have this almost like linear progression of people who are going to be watching it. But what I really like about these kinds of expansion, these kind of trailers, like I was looking on YouTube after that to see what people thought of it. I didn't really watch very many of the videos because unfortunately I didn't have time, but I wanted to see how much hype there was around it. And I'm not sure if you guys know who Asmongold is. He's like a Twitch streamer with 1.9 million followers, in fact, and he's also
like a fantastic human being. I actually love that guy.
Really seems to be really down to earth and realistic with his audience. But he's done trailer reveals and he's sat down and watched a bunch of them. Like he did one for Harvest, did one for Delirium, things like that. But you see, those are like 6-minute videos. He was there for 35 minutes or whatever, doing this whole new Path of Exile expansion and league launch reveal and watch with his whole entire audience. For GGG, that's massive amounts of advertising from these big streamers and this big hype. Them returning to this almost ExileCon fashion of this reveal, I think was a great idea for him, especially since they took that extra month out. They now re-engage their audience and they reached a broader audience. I looked on the comments of his reaction video. Top comments about 10 straight down, which is all I looked for, was, guess I'm going to have to reinstall PoE. So I feel like that worked really well for him. And whether or not these people continue playing PoE for a prolonged period of time is inconsequential because, new players or casual players make the game go round, right?
That's a very good point that you brought up there. I was going to say that Mairian pretty much covered everything in her answer, but that aspect is really good because as opposed to like a regular trailer/reveal page, this is much more restreamable. Like this is
untalkable.
Yeah, but you get what I mean because like the entire reveal video is like 30 minutes long alone, right? Without the Bayclast. So if you watch the entire thing on your stream, the chances are that there's so many people coming in watching that with you as opposed to you just watching the trailer for 3 or 4 minutes, right?
So I worked in sales for a number of years, and one of the biggest things that we liked in sales was referral business.
Absolutely.
It's instantaneous. You have a person that you trust that tells you this is a good something. You should purchase that, or in this case, play that. If you're watching one of your favorite streamers, especially somebody of that magnitude, and they're watching this Path of Exile trailer, that's massive advertising for GGG.
Mm-hmm. And getting excited about it on top of that.
Especially if you see someone who's a seasoned player, who's seen a lot of things, but then they're watching this and they're absolutely like jaws dropped and like, wow, this is going to be a big thing. So even someone who doesn't know PoE, especially PoE being a free-to-play game, they're going to be very tempted to try it out and give it at least a go.
I also say, I don't think I've ever seen him play it, by the way. But just the fact that he
streams on his secondary channel, right? Zach Raw.
Oh.
That's where he plays Path of Exile usually.
Cool. Okay.
So there's 2 things. And one of them might annoy some people. And so I'll start with the one that won't.
Let's go.
Yeah, first of all,
the good news,
I was really worried when they said drops again because people got really upset about like drops last time. Then last time they did drops, the way most drops are done on Twitch, the way you would get wings and stuff is it's all like random chance. Every like X amount of time, so many percentage of the people will get a chance at it. And people like watch for hours and farm it and view bot it and try and get extra codes and extra whatevers. And they just did away with all of that and was just like, anyone watching any PoE channel for 30 minutes just gets the wings during the event.
Awesome.
And so that was perfect because it made it worth less from like a monetary standpoint, because a lot of drops can sometimes be sold and people like farm them with bots, and that's not a thing for this because it's just like everyone has them. And so that taking away that RNG was really, really good. That got rid of the sour taste that sometimes gets left in people's mouths when they can't get the thing they were going for. So I love that. But the one bit that I didn't think, the one thing that I didn't think fit is putting Bayclast at the end of it. And I love the Bayclast guys, and like I watch it all of the time. But there are also a lot of people who don't like those people, and I don't know necessarily putting it in the official PoE channel feels good to those people.
Would you have felt it was more appropriate if they had hosted or rated on Tarky's channel for it? Yeah.
That's exactly what I would have preferred. Because I still would have watched it. I still love it, but I don't think it fits on the like official PoE channel. Whereas it might have been different if they had like, you know, if like Chris and Rory were going to be on it and it was more interviewing stuff, but because it just went to them, I think it would have been far better and more appropriate to have lined it all up so that like Tarky starts and the Bayclast starts and they host over to that. I think that would have been better. I don't, in theory, like the idea of like essentially forcing Bayclast down people's throat, even though I love it and I was going to watch it anyway. But just from like a everyone standpoint, it doesn't really fit in my head.
I mean, did you watch? You did watch Bayclast, right? For me, it was a bit late, so I didn't watch the Bayclast.
I watched it on YouTube later.
Okay, so like this, like being Bayclast there would, for me as a person who doesn't like usually watch Bayclast. I mean, I watch when there's like a developer on there, right? If a developer would have been there, it would have made total sense because they would. I don't know if they had any extra information though, or did they just discuss what was shown to everybody?
No, they just talked about it, which
they were just talking about what was there.
I do know that some of them got the trailer beforehand.
Yeah,
I think
but like
Tarky had mentioned that.
Yeah, but they didn't have any information we didn't have by the time Bayclast started.
So if
they might have got it all a few hours early so that they were prepared because they were doing a thing on the channel, but they didn't get any information we didn't receive.
So if they had something new to like, okay, so here guys, we have this like reveal, we can talk about this and we can discuss this and then do the rest of the reactions, this would have been super cool because then you can, you know, they would tie in this community, but just like dumping them there and then they will, well, I mean, it is good. These are competent players, right? So their takes on what was revealed is, I mean, interesting to a lot of people, basically. But yeah, I don't know. I just wish there was a PoE developer in there as well. Would have been like tied everything together nicely, cherry on top.
Agreed.
Like I'm waiting to get hate mail from one of them. What the fuck you doing, bitch? But you know, like there's like nothing wrong with that. I watch it every episode, generally on YouTube. But like I do like Bayclast. It doesn't sit right in my head that it went on the official channel.
You wanted it to be fake connections, didn't you? Yes, you did.
No, I'm not prepared for that.
The question is, though, is this like possibly foreshadowing that Bayclast? Well, I guess in the past it's also been in a way, but could it potentially be like the official Path of Exile podcast, according to GGG, in a way, so that it becomes something that is almost a symbiotic relationship going forward, and they have more information going forward?
Maybe.
I mean, it already is. Even at ExileCon, they were well entwined with all of the releases and everything, and that's fine. I have no problem with any of that. Like it's great.
Deserved,
actually,
yeah.
one of my favorite things about going to ExileCon was the fact that all of these community members were involved in releases and panels and like on stage and helping organize stuff. Like it was all great, and I think scheduling it after the thing to have a big conversation was huge. Great 5-head move, perfect timing. It just seems like that should have gone onto Taki's actual channel and then just hosted 180,000 people or whatever it was over to it and then continued like normal. That's just...
I don't know.
It's a difficult topic. Like I agree with the notion that I'm not sure what I think about it being shoved down people's throats who potentially don't know it or don't like it. But within the established community, it makes perfect sense because Bakelast is by far the longest running and most popular Path of Exile podcast. And they've done a tremendous amount of things that are positive for both the community and for GGG as developers. Yeah. So I'm totally rooting for Tarky there. And I'm also, I realize that I don't want to go too much into detail there, but Tarky had some problems health-wise and didn't really have that much time to do his content recently. So I think it's great that they kind of give him a little bit of a hand by hosting the podcast on there and giving him the chance to, you know, get big exposure and basically make up for his time of absence in a way. But yeah, like I think I also like it better as like a special kind of thing that's done this time, and then next time they may do it differently. Like have a panel of different big streamers that they handpick, where they pick maybe Tarky and Rise right from that podcast, and then they get Quinn and they get someone like Mathil and maybe Datmods or something like that. I don't know. That would also make sense. But I think it worked really well in this context. Like, while I'm not sure how I feel about it, if it's a permanent installation, I think it was really cool this time. Like it flowed well. Bakelast, I've also seen people point that out in comments. Bakelast was just on the whole a much better experience. And I'm not saying I don't like it usually, but this time it went really smooth. They had a really good flow of conversation, and they didn't go off topic too much onto several tangents, but they really just went from point to point in the announcement, and they talked about all the important stuff. So I really enjoyed the listen.
I agree. I enjoyed it as well, but I also do think Balor has a good point of like, if it was a raid or a host, that it would have been a little bit more appropriate. I just do think it's kind of hilarious and ironic that that the raid actually went to Mathil, which if you guys have been in Mathil's chat, which he's a great streamer, but if you've been in his chat, that's not where you want to send the official Path of Exile people to.
Wow.
Get memed on, boys. Like,
yeah, I wasn't there until the very end, so I didn't know that because there was the huge Twitch outage in the middle of Bakelast. So I only watched like the first half of Bakelast, and then I went dive into the announcement with my viewers on the stream.
That's a bit of a shame,
I watched
though.
The rest of Bakelast offline when it was uploaded to YouTube.
I mean, I'm glad you were able to get your viewers to be on your stream during that time, but it's a little bit of a shame that Twitch was down and having so many issues during that point, which meant that a lot of your viewers may have not been able to watch.
Yeah, they were not able to chat for a long time, and there were definitely a lot of people weren't there or lost connection.
We straight up dropped a third of the viewers when that happened. I managed to get most people into general chat on Discord and multistream.tv because multistream.tv was still getting all of the Twitch traffic that it was supposed to get, so people could watch through multistream, but then they couldn't chat. So I ended up getting about 2/3 of the people who were watching into the general chat in my Discord, put that where my normal stream chat was, and chatted with it while people were watching multistream.tv.
So one thing they need to do though for the next announcement is anything with the word drops or claim cannot be placed in chat.
Yes.
If you guys are watching the chat, even in slow mode, it was just
drops,
claim drops, claim drops.
I mean, spammers are gonna spam, right? Like no matter what.
Yeah, but where did people get this idea? I don't know. Why do they have to spam the same thing? You see somebody else spam, nothing happened. Like, why do you do it?
Yeah, it's like never sync take my energy. It doesn't do
No.
anything. People just spam it.
No,
It's
it
because
does.
of
Buddy
many of the
messaging me
other
in
drops.
Discord.
Many of
Buddy
the other
messaging me in
drops that
Discord
happened,
just
you had
going,
to type
fucking
Oh, wait,
lemming.
so one person needs to
Sorry.
talk and the other one needs to not talk. Wait,
Baylor.
you have to
So,
decide.
many of the other drops that have happened on Twitch in other areas, you've had to type ! drops to get into. Like, that's been a thing in the past.
Well,
It wasn't the GGG's thing, but
yeah. But the automatic drops from the games, do you ever had to? I know that, like, if
you
you
have had to in the past, yes.
Okay. I
don't
concede this
think
fight.
I don't think any of them do that anymore because of the spam stuff that happened. But when they first started doing drops, you had to activate them as a viewer by typing drops. And that just kept going forever, even though really early in the process, Twitch was like, how about if you're just watching? So then we can get rid of that spam.
Works
And
way
then
better.
everyone just kept spamming anyway.
A buddy of mine was just messaging me, just going like, what are these lemmings doing? These lemmings, these effing lemmings.
Nice. Yeah.
So one more thing I want to say about the Twitch drops real quick is like what I find really cool is that they enable it for all channels that streamed Path of Exile during the announcement, because in the past some drops were limited to the official Path of Exile channel. I think during ExileCon you couldn't get the drops if you were watching streamers restream the event, which felt a little bit bad because on the one hand you were allowed to restream it and watch it with your community, but your community had like obviously more incentive to watch it directly on the Path of Exile channel as opposed to watching it in your channel. So a lot of people had both open, which I guess is cool because it both counts as a view, right? But it's great that they allow people to gain the drops in their favorite content creator's stream rather than having to watch the official stream.
Anything that GGG can do to incentivize people going to their favorite streamers to watch content about Path of Exile is amazing, because at the end of the day, I feel like some of their best advertisement is on Twitch, at least for the audience that they kind of want for a game like Path of Exile. Twitch is a place for gamers, and Path of Exile is a gamer's game. It's not exactly for the faint of heart, right? So you're kind of catering to the audience that would go and source that type of media anyways. So I think it's brilliant. They should do that more often. And back when Path of Exile was in beta, if you guys remember way back in the day, like I started playing a Nemesis League, and one of the things that I really enjoyed was if you went into your options window, there was a streaming tab. Like it allows you to stream the game, and that was basically a person marketing your game for you, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I really like that functionality in the game, but I don't know whether and how it's ever gonna come back. But I think that sums it up about somewhat. Well, that about sums it up for the like meta discussion about the announcement. Now let's go into the content of the announcement itself, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Where to start?
I think we'll start with talking about Echoes of the Atlas. So, does anyone have a quick outline in their head already, or should I? I mean, basically, in Path of Exile, you progress the Atlas, you unlock Watchstones by killing Conquerors, and work towards Cirrus by upgrading the regions on your Atlas by socketing the Watchstones and Citadels. And not only are there unique Watchstones that you get from the Conquerors to socket, but there's, well, not unique, the normal, regular Watchstones, but there's also unique Watchstones that vanish after a couple of uses that you get as a drop from the end boss Cirrus, and from high tier Conquerors. I actually don't know. Is it only Cirrus that drops the Cyrus? Sirius. Anyway, but now in Conquerors, in Echoes of the Atlas, we'll actually get craftable Watchstones, and there's a new boss progression with a new lore enemy called the Maven, who will, into mapping, I think like 3 tiers into mapping, they said, will start watch you kill bosses, and after you killed a number of bosses, then she will want to watch you kill all those bosses at once. So you go into a separate arena where you have to fight all 3 bosses. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can hook in at any time. That's how I understood it. And then in that progression, next time she will want to watch you kill 1 boss more, and then do 4 at once, 5, all the way up to 10. And then you can eventually unlock
6 to 10.
It's 6 and then 10. There's no 7, 8, 9.
Oh, there's no 7, 8, 10. Okay, wait. So it's 3, 6, 10? Or it's 3,
3,
4, 5,
4,
6,
5,
10?
6, and 10. Yeah. So 5
Okay.
different tiers to get 10 points on them.
Okay. That makes sense.
And with 4 of those tiers being like quest items
Yeah.
that you can't craft, and then the last 10 boss battle being rare.
Repeatable.
I don't remember if they said it was tradable or not.
It's tradable.
Okay, but it's and definitely craftable, like a map
Yes.
would be. So you can add rewards and
Mhm.
add mods to it. And
It can only be magic,
Yeah.
though, like a flask. There's no rare variants of those ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 affixes.
I mean, all I'm going to say about that is I'm real happy to be in softcore for that.
Yes. Yay, softcore. Let's
Right?
go.
Have
Well,
10
I mean-
random map bosses with multi-proj turbo. Let's go.
I don't know what could be going wrong there. I mean, visual clarity has never been a problem in
I will make
multi-boss
sure
fights.
one of them is Katava.
Yes.
I'm just
In
hoping
fact-
bonk build doesn't get killed, so you just bonk once and they're all gone.
I'm going to try really hard to take like a proper poll of what people think are the most dangerous map bosses, and I'm going to see if I can get the 10 most dangerous map bosses and put them all in the same one.
Well, no, that's the boss fights will work per Atlas region. So there's 8 regions. How many maps are in a region? Like 20 maps. So you will be able to get 10 bosses from the pool of 20 maps. So you won't be able to get the most dangerous 10 bosses across all the Atlas. It's just gonna be from that region.
Well, I'm still going to look for the most dangerous combination of 10 that I can possibly find.
Okay,
Right?
okay, yeah.
In fact, I might go as far as to say I want the most dangerous one out of each region. So I'm going to have 8 very dangerous fights.
Yeah. Well, yes. Okay.
And like the most dangerous 10 from every region and to put them all in the same arena. Let's go. I'm going to get murdered.
Nah.
Get your spreadsheets out.
Map bosses are not that hard, apart from some kind of weird interaction. If you like juice it up real well, maybe they can do some damage. But generally speaking, like map bosses are like another rare monster almost. I don't
Yeah,
think
but we're talking about some of the new ones potentially that they had shown off.
Mm.
Those ones look much more epic.
All
Yeah.
right, you're talking about the 10 new tile sets that they're adding, 10 new maps with new
Actually, in
It's
total.
Was
11.
it 11? Yeah.
Oh, right.
11.
Yeah, it
11.
was 4 that
It's
they
an
showed
odd
and
number.
7 more that they didn't show. Right. You're right.
Also,
11 new tile sets, and they took away all of the Grandmasters from the
From the
Atlas. It still
Atlas.
exists, but only from the Atlas. So we get 10 more completion, but 11 new maps.
okay,
Ooh.
that's good. I mean, as a hardcore player, I don't do all of Grandmasters unless I'm leveling a character specifically for that. And
that's the same in
utilizing the whole
softball.
PvP scaling. Then
Most characters can't actually they can't do Hall of the Grandmasters.
no,
You have to level specific Hall of the Grandmaster characters for that.
yeah.
Um,
But they do look brilliant, these new boss fights. I mean, since it was the PoE 2 crew that was working on them, allegedly, they look much more interesting, much more epic, but also at the same time, being an SSF player and playing in hardcore, I usually look for efficiency. I feel like if those aren't unique maps, then I'm probably going to skip a few of them. I mean, I'll do them once for completion, but then not touch them again, right? If they take that long to actually kill the map boss, the rewards have to be compelling, or I'm not going to bother because it's a waste of time
Wait,
in a way.
You think the boss fights on those new ones are going to take as long as PoE 2 boss fights?
I'm not too sure on that, but I do notice that the ones they showed off, at least the 4, they have their own arena, they have their own animations that initiate the fight. Like there was the
Okay, yeah,
whatever the
they're
purple
not
one
like,
was in the crypt.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
not
Just
a
seems
boss like
like-
just in the end of the map that you just one shot and leave the map again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like they're gonna put
If I'm
some
playing for
flavor in
efficiency's sake, then there's no real reason for me to run those bosses continually, right? That just do I want to do a map in 2.5 minutes, or do I want to do a map in 2.5 minutes and do the boss for 3 minutes?
The tile sets looked beautiful though.
Insane.
They look so cool.
Like,
Yeah, but
like,
did you
beautiful.
notice that one of them, I don't know which one, had extra doors in it? So I know people are gonna hate on that.
Oh, no. No doors, no more doors.
Yeah, I don't know which one it was. Maybe it was no, I don't know if it was the crypt, but there was like little buildings you have to go through, and all of them had doors. And I was like, after
And that one
Heist,
boss.
you done us like that? Was, you know.
I think at this point, though, we're desensitized to those doors because we hate heist stores even more. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be running in the map and you'll be like, oh my god, these doors open immediately when I click on them.
It was all an elaborate
Yeah.
plot to make us actually not
they
hate regular doors.
this was their idea the whole
They
time. This is all Heist
yeah,
League was for.
this is the long con. Oh my
They
god.
five-headed us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. Wow. That's
it
oh
tricked
my
us
gosh.
into being happy about regular doors that open when you click on them.
Yes. Well, GG so nefarious, aren't they?
It's like saying,
Clever.
"Oh man, my hand's really hurting," and then a person just walks over and punches you in the face. You forgot about your hand now, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
A good analogy, yeah.
I'm not sure whether regular doors are more painful than ice doors.
I mean,
Or the other way around. No, no. Yeah, no, it was a good analogy. I thought it was the other way. It was wrong. Anyway, we're on a tangent. Great maps. The one boss fight that we just had on the screen looks a little bit like Yugo 2.0 because there's so many cold orbs and stuff flying around.
Yep.
A little bit scared about that one because I recently died to Yugo while leveling a new character.
Also,
What?
from the trailer as well, they are showing like there's often these almost epic type tile sets to even get to the boss. Like
Yeah.
before you fight the boss, there's like that walkway and that pathway that makes it so much more of an epic, like this crucible that you're arriving at. It also sounds like a bit of a waste of time, as beautiful as it looks. As a player who strives for efficiency a lot of the time.
I
My
mean,
assumption is there'll be mobs the whole way up there.
Hopefully.
They were just not there for the thing because it looks way cooler in the trailer, right?
I hope so. Yeah.
Like it looks far less cool if he's like trudging up those stairs and up that area and just killing mobs all the way. It doesn't get that look that you just described, like that whole I'm on a crucible going to this difficult boss thing. Like that, from a cinematic perspective, that's way better. So I think they just removed the mobs. I think they'll just be mobs the whole way.
I hope
That's-
so.
Okay, yeah. We don't want empty maps, please. Thank you very much.
'Cause, yeah. Otherwise, you're right. It would not look anywhere near as epic if this character's just running up this area, just trouncing these white mobs on its way.
But it's what we want to do when we're playing. I don't ever want to not be killing things, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this stuff goes a long way in making Path of Exile feel like a fresh game. Like getting these new tile sets, fighting new bosses, that
Mhm.
always is a big step forward for me and just my perception of the game. I just always feel like it leveled up.
Give cards I can farm in the new maps.
Yes.
Whichever one gives the 2 for 20 alterations, yeah, count me in.
Yeah, whichever
Right.
one gives a double corrupted, influenced, what
Item.
was it, Nemesis item or something like that?
The specific item, double corrupted.
Double
Yep.
corrupted,
There was a
double influenced. What item was it?
League specific.
League
Just
specific.
any league
okay.
specific, yeah.
Which, I mean,
Yeah.
there isn't that many good ones aside from Headhunter, right?
Mhm.
Badge of the
That
Brotherhood.
can have influence.
Yeah, Badge of the Brotherhood,
Um,
actually. Yeah.
No, badge. Oh, badge of the brotherhood. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, not that many. I mean, any expansion that adds new content, so endgame expansion or something like when we got 10 acts, it was so huge, right? So another endgame expansion that's brings you completely something new. Also, that's why I personally like Heist, because it brought something completely different, but it's really hype.
I liked the intent of Heist.
Agreed.
I'm
intent
happy
behind it.
that they gave it a go. But I played nothing but League of Legends for the last 6 weeks.
Wow.
So as a
Sorry.
person
So your
who,
reflexes are really good now. You're ready
As
to
a
dodge
person
those
who-
balls.
I pushed to 100 in the heist flashback, right? I never want to see another heist again because tunnels and repository just being done ad nauseum was, oh god, just horrible. It's horrible. Don't make me see another door again, please.
But they're being added to the base game.
Yeah.
It sounds
And
like
I can-
basically unchanged, presumably rarer, obviously, but
10% of the time.
Do you
You
think they're
get it.
keeping tunnels and repository the same though?
Everything is the same. Except you level the rogues faster, as far as I understood. That's it. Even the jobs are not faster, and there's same amount of doors. But, I mean, I'm not the kind of person that farms one thing. So for me, I didn't go ham in heists and that nothing but heists. So to me, it was it's fine. You get some cool shit. You get a bunch of chisels. Let's go. Sustain your own chisels. Solo cell phone, baby. And that's it.
my current
yeah, I
plan,
love
because
that
I'm
in
in
SSL.
trade, my current plan, because I'm in trade, is to drop all heist contracts into my rotating dump tabs. And if they sell, great. And if they don't, I'll vendor them because I have no interest in entering a single one.
Exactly. You have this choice. You don't even have to step a foot, and there will be people who will be doing heists, and you will be able to buy the stuff you want. And if you're on solo cell phone, well, tough luck. You gotta do it if you want it.
So I know we're gonna get into talking about ritual, but I just want to say that heist kind of highlighted one thing that I think is a major problem in Path of Exile at this point in time, and ritual is doing a good besides doors. But I feel like ritual is going to be, at least it looks like it does a good job of mitigating that portion.
Yeah.
Path of Exile has too much loot. At the end of the day, 99.9% of it's bad. And Heist really highlighted that issue because you get this massive loot explosion continuously from opening up these chests. And it's very, very rare that you actually want to pick up all those items because there's nothing compelling on the ground. Ritual, at least, is going to give us the capability of looking at this window of items, which, in before whatever people keep saying about it, whether it's going to be garbage items or whatnot. But at least it allows you this limited amount of loot and a choice between any of this potential good loot. Heist just gave you this giant dump of items and you picked up as many as you possibly could and hoped to God one of them was decent.
Well, outside of the reward rooms from the blueprints, which exactly had a nice solution for that problem where you get a very small selection of very good items that you can pick from.
Yeah,
or
true.
Did you already mention that?
No, I didn't mention that. But also at the same time, leading up to that blueprint room is a loot explosion after loot explosion after loot explosion.
Absolutely. And the problem with those loot explosions from league to league, they get bigger because every time they get bigger, people are like, I can't pick up all that stuff, and they make their item filters stricter, and then it feels less rewarding, and then the next league will have to drop even more stuff so people pog out about the drops because they don't see 90% of the drops because they're already filtered out. And that's like a mechanic that reinforces itself, a problem
Vicious
that
cycle.
gets worse.
Yeah. But I mean, ritual, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We were talking about, but the ritual kind of solves that, right? There's no loot explosions. It's just what you can choose from, and it's in front of you, and that's it.
Yeah,
Which is
it combines,
less clicking.
Combines a bunch of aspects of interesting reward systems. But we'll get into that in a second. I just quickly want to discuss two aspects of the Echoes of the Atlas stuff. And one of them we already briefly touched on. That's the craftable watchstones. I quickly want to look at the mods that were shown here in the trailer. Quickly talk about what kind of mods these watchstones can roll. And then, of course, there's the big elephant that we haven't even addressed yet. Which is that every single...
Oh, you said big elephant, and I said, don't say the Maven. Okay.
No, the Maven.
No, I mean the region watch, the region trees.
Yeah.
Region trees.
They're
I
really
want
good.
Balor's perspective right away on this one.
Yeah,
He's got
let's
the
go.
look that he's got
Yeah,
something to
he's
say about
ready
it.
to lay some knowledge.
My first thought, and this is a bad first thought. My first thought when I saw the individual region passive trees for the Atlas was
that during the trailer
oh my
or
God,
during
that's
the
gonna be
teaser
so much
earlier?
work. Because I've got the Atlas guide, and it's fully in depth and absolutely the best and fastest way to progress your Atlas. And it's got tons of traffic because it's all laid out and step by step. Like, it's so many hours work. It's been translated into Japanese as well.
Oh wow.
And now I have to do this stuff and put it in. It's gonna be so much work. But oh my God, it looks so good.
It's
The
not
kicker
gonna
is,
be that
though,
work.
there's two paths though, right? They're saying this is in tandem currently with the old
Yes.
Atlas, how it is, right? So for the current Atlas and how you want to progress that, go left. Here's the new guide going right for this portion. Have fun, Balor.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be like a separate page, basically, because the first one is already like 25 fucking pages long. Atlas is already confusing as shit.
It can't be that difficult to progress your Atlas. 25
Well, there are a lot of pictures and there's a lot of like
Okay.
accordions and it's all step by step,
Alright.
very, very hand holding. Like, it's
Okay.
the guide is supposed to be to the point where your first time playing, getting to the Atlas, if you read this, you can get all the way to 32.
That's pretty
offshoots.
good then. That's pretty good.
I know Carve has been working on an Atlas guide video for probably the greater part of 3 years, and they just keep releasing more changes in the Atlas and more content for him to expand
get
on. So that
behind it.
video, yeah, it's never going to be released. It's,
Delays.
yeah, he's got 500 gigs worth just building up slowly.
One day he releases a 28-hour YouTube video.
It's like a documentary.
In
Yeah.
true Carve fashion.
Yeah,
Just a
And then
documentary
you
of
can-
him slowly going crazy. He is the elder at the end of the day, or the
Descending,
shaper, pardon.
descending, madness.
buy the DVD box set for Car's Atlas Guide now.
Yeah. It's a not trilogy, but
Get that as your pre-roll advertisement on Twitch.
yeah.
But yeah, no, okay. So generally super excited about it. Slightly worried that there'll be zones that just have all the garbage ones that I don't want to run, and that will be the zone where it has the maps that I wanted to run in it.
That's the
But-
entire
Right.
point.
On
That's
purpose.
what's so great. It gives them a chance to give regions identity and to make them good for something without giving them good maps. I don't know, the regions that have bad maps can then have good trees, and the regions that have good maps can have bad trees.
Yeah. That could
They-
even stuff out a bit.
They want you to play different maps. They already said that in the past when they changed the Atlas with the
I mean,
previous.
they say that, but I never do.
Well,
I've never failed to be able to set up my Atlas to run one map forever.
yeah, but I mean, they want you to have more incentive
it's
to
good
run
to have
more
wants.
different maps. Yeah.
It's good
This
to
will
have
create a bit of a
wants.
discussion, though, on what the best min-maxing strategy is, and I think there's going to be multiple ideologies on that. People are going to run a bunch
Yeah.
of different ones.
There's going to be multiple min-maxed approaches for sure. Yeah, and multiple viable strats, I think. There's not going to be
That's
one
what you want
clear,
from.
obvious best choice path.
You know what's
You
going to
know-
happen in softcore, right? There's going to be the first person to discover the best strategy, then everyone's going to adopt that best strategy, and then one guy's going to have the big brain to go, I'm not doing that best strategy, I have this best strategy, and he's going to make money off that. And this is just going to keep metagaming one another for the market share.
But you know what is the best thing about those trees? It's permanent. You choose it and it affects all your maps. You don't have to put the scarab, put the sextants, everything
right,
that's
yep.
BS
Yep.
like that. It's no, this is what you get, and it's beautiful. It's just
But
Yeah.
hold on, it's not permanent though, because you can
Well-
back out of them and then replace
Yeah, but
passive. So if I get a really good scarab in that region, I'm going to have to minus those passives out and put the passives into the strongbox one, because I got the strongbox scarab, or the strongbox sextant, pardon. I got some scarabs for it. I got
I think it's going to be cheaper to switch
Monster
out
treasure.
the Watchstone rather than
Yeah.
to switch out your
It's
trade
one of those crafted watchstones that are so amazing.
that are area specific.
But they're not area specific.
Well,
They are.
Well, no, they're not specific where you socket them, but they do have the name of the regions, right?
Oh,
Because
But
really?
I think you can socket them wherever, can't you?
yeah, that's the
I think it said
question.
on them like titanium Lex Proxima watchstone.
Yeah, it
Oh,
does say
really?
it does say the citadel name or the region name on the watchstone, but it's like when you get watchstones regularly, you also get them from regions, right? You can only get
Yeah.
one red, one green, one blue, one yellow from a
But you
given
can still
region.
put them anywhere.
But they aren't
belong
name
to a given
specific
region.
though, right?
Yeah, they're not specific where you socket them, but they belong to a region. Let's see, right? What does this watchstone say here? Because
the
these have
FAQ
different
today
symbols.
confirmed they are region specific.
And the
Okay. They did.
FAQ confirmed they're region specific.
So wait, there's 3 different ones, and you can only slot 3 craftable watchstones in any given region then, because there's only 3
They only
different.
showed us.
No,
three.
they're
That doesn't mean
showing
there's
3
only
different ones. I was like, because there's different symbols on here. I was hoping that they show that you can not only socket the Lex Proxima into Lex Proxima, but that you could also socket the other ones. That's what I was thinking.
No.
So
yeah,
this is kind of
these-
an offbeat question, but with these being tradable, what happens if you show up really late to the league and instead of killing the Conquerors, your friends just outfit you with a bunch of these watchstones? You don't get Cirrus because you can't progress to Cirrus right away. But does that have any implications for almost power leveling an Atlas?
Yeah.
Or are you just not
can't
able
do
to
it.
socket them until you kill a Conqueror in that area? And
Well,
You,
no,
no,
you
you just have to unlock the citadels.
Yeah.
Run a tier 3 map in every region, and you could bang have a Woke 8 Atlas, and your friend could give you a map pack of 160 pre-rolled maps, and you could just be like, Awakener completion, bonus completion, everything all in one go.
Oh, I
Yeah,
have a
but-
tangent there. Just quick
Bit odd, isn't
question. Because aren't citadels supposed to spawn in the first tier 3 map of a given region? I've definitely had my last Valdos Rest Watchstone spawn on Factory, which is a map that doesn't even not Watchstone. The Citadel spawned on Factory, which doesn't even appear in the region before it has 2 Watchstones socketed. That was so
That was
weird.
a bug.
Sounds
That was
like
a bug that
bug.
happened when at the beginning of this league when they shuffled the Atlas. A few maps didn't. While they visually moved, they didn't actually move on
Okay.
the back end or
So the
whatever. They
game
fixed
thought that was the first
Okay.
tier 3 on the
Oh.
region.
That's
But yeah,
good.
you can currently skip the entire Atlas and mass progress like that. You can currently join the league mid-league and have your friend buy a bunch of ivory watchstones.
Yeah.
true. That's a lot more, well, maybe not a lot more expensive. I don't know how expensive these things are going to be now.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how expensive they're going to be, and at least they're permanent. You don't have to replace them. But the point is, it's viable now. Like you could do it right now.
Do you
Okay.
get these watchstones from the 10 boss fight or the Maven fight? This is
Who
what
knows?
I didn't catch.
I think
it's-
these are
No.
from the 10 boss fight. At least that's what I took out of that. And I think the Maven just has Maven specific drops, such as the Maven Orb, and probably who knows if there's a Maven influence. We haven't been given any information on that yet.
Maybe. Okay, so
Probably Eldritch
potentially.
influence. though.
Made woke gems. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Eh?
Okay.
Double
Oh.
woke gems.
No, maybe different woke gems. I mean, how many woke gems
don't
are
already
there?
have
Eldritch gems.
Woke ones. Just new
True.
woke gem.
Okay, now if there was a new woke gem,
Sleeper gems.
like supports, what's the one you guys would want? What's the one that's
Mirage
missing that
Archer.
you need? Oh, think about that with Deadeye possibly.
I mean, Empower and Lighten could be kind of cool.
That would be amazing, actually. Yeah,
That would be kind of cool. But
Crazy.
yeah.
yeah. Just if Maven that would be such a concise theme too. Of Maven having Enhance, Enlighten, and Empower, or having woke versions of that. That would be really neat, actually.
Yeah. Well,
Try
anyway.
leveling those. Have fun.
Yes, would take forever. What do you guys think about the Maven's Orb? Who is gonna try to get one and craft with one?
We
I
haven't
mean,
talked
in
about
softcore, yep, softcore, babe, yeah, softcore, yeah. In hardcore,
Catmaster and I will never see them.
I mean, there's so much crafting.
I mean, okay. Do you kill Awakener 8 in your solo self on hardcore runs usually? Do you go for Awakener 8 at all?
I haven't
Uber
ever
Elder?
gone for one. I think the highest Awakener I've done in SSF was Awakening level 6, but I'm not even sure.
So this league I would on like Champ Earth Shatter or something. I definitely would because it's. I mean, sure, it's a risk, but people can kill him in Gauntlet and Awakener 8 that way, right? I killed him in Gauntlet at Awakener level 0, and he basically couldn't kill me unless I really screwed up and just ran my face into the storm.
I mean, the Gauntlet Awakener 0 is probably harder than Awakener 8.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
I feel like this league, I would have. I did that in Metamorph League as well. I kind of competed in the Metamorph race, which that was fun because remember when I talked about packet loss in the Gauntlet? My very first delve, level 32 zone, packet lost my character.
Oh no.
But anyways, I did that in the Awakener race. I killed him a couple of times during that, and I've killed him in other leagues. But it's been like 2 leagues since I bothered because really killing Awakener 8 doesn't seem to have the best rewards. Like, sure, yeah, you can get the Savior.
Yeah, there's really no.
Well,
Your Awakening Orb drops from any level, no?
It does.
Yeah,
But
you know that you can
better
sell
chance.
Awaken 8s on softcore trade, and that people will pay you an X to be able to come in and kill your Awakener 8.
Yeah.
So they're definitely profitable to run.
Oh,
because there are
well,
Worth it in
people that-
softcore. In hardcore, it's
Yeah,
just
well,
a major risk every time, right?
That probably makes it more profitable, though.
But I play solo self-found, so I may as well just do mine at like Awakener 6, and then I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I don't really have
that's-
to risk my character, and I can still get a pretty decent reward from it.
yeah. And
Yeah.
what do you really need from Awakener? I mean, if you want some kind of crazy crafting, and then like, do people even solo self-found you really go for double influence items? Because if you rip that character, goodbye to your sexy item. So I don't know if people go for that. Because
I mean, if I was
have-
able to get an Awakener orb, hell yes, I would use it. But honestly, I went a bit over 2 leagues without getting a single one of the Crusader Hunter Exalts or an Awakened Gem. I finally got one about 3-4 weeks ago, and I didn't get one during Harvest, and I didn't get one during Delirium in SSF.
Because you're not doing Awakener 8.
No, but even the Conquerors, right?
Well, Conqueror
Right.
drop
Are
chances
you
are
doing them at
Very
Woke 8 Atlas level?
Yeah, doing those guys at
Okay.
Woke 8.
I almost never find them from the Conquerors, though.
yeah.
Like, almost never. But I regularly find them from Awakener.
Okay.
At Awakener 8, it's not... Like, I'll probably find, I don't know, 10 to 12 Woke Orbs personally on the ground in the first month of a league.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm always killing it at 8.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you also probably have a little bit faster, I guess, Awakener turnover than I would. Just
Yeah. I mean, I expect to be killing Woke 8 by day 3 or 4. Most. And then, I don't know, 2 or 3 of them a day on average.
Okay. So yeah. I maybe will do one every 2 days, 3 days maybe. Versus,
Oof.
I play
That's
softcore,
the
but at the speed of
softcore
hardcore. Yeah.
Sorry, I
That's
didn't
the
get that. What
softcore
did you
life.
say? You play in softcore and you don't see what?
No.
Could you
No,
repeat what you just said, Maria?
I just say that compared to Balor, I just play really slow. I play on like super slow. I just faff about all the time. Like I will kill one Awakener in a stream, which is like 5 hours, maybe if I'm like get lucky with the spawns of Conquerance. If I get like all of them are 9 maps, I'm like goodbye, forget about it. 2 days.
You're probably moving as fast as I am. It's just that in the first few weeks of a league, I play 18 hours a day, not 5.
Maybe that.
So when I say 3 a day, or when I say I might be there by day 3, that's 3 18-hour days. And then I'm fighting 2 or 3 of them a day over 18 hours.
Oh,
I'm not very fast.
Well, no, I mean I play like on first few days I play more because it's hype, but I just my Atlas progression is chill and steady, and then Awakener maybe by first like next Friday and the first week I probably get to Awakener 8, maybe a few times kill him, depends on the build. So
I think
Nothing.
Balor's also talking a little bit about how he's just 18 hours. He's an efficient player though. Like I've seen him play. He
Plus,
plays
he's not
efficiently.
that
He's
fast.
solid.
He wrote the guide on how to progress Atlas, so he has, the
think-
strap.
I think he's doing himself a disservice on that one. Going, it's because of the amount of time. You even had a series where discussing it isn't the amount of time put into Path of Exile, it's the efficiency. So,
That's fair.
Yeah.
checkmate.
It's just I see people like Path of Math and Tai and a bunch of different racer people and
Yeah.
Havoc and them, and I'm like, that's efficiency. Like those people are being efficient. What I do is slow meandering around.
So you have
comparatively.
efficiency. They have peak efficiency.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Because, it's really hard to compare with those people. That's just crazy. I don't even, do they even blink? They don't.
I don't know.
No, I
The
don't.
world record. The world record Katava 5 was set again yesterday by I'm Exile. It was like an hour and 2 minutes or
It's
something.
insane.
Hour and 5 minutes and 42
5 minutes
seconds.
was it?
And Tai Tai's
Yeah.
was an hour and 5 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah,
Still,
he won by like 3 seconds. It's
Still
it's
no one
basically
has
a
gotten
1
an
hour
hour
act
6.
5.
they
Like,
went from
I'm
back and forth.
walking into
I'm
Act 3. What the fuck?
So back and forth, I'm Exile and Tai Tai were competing with one another a few months back, and I'm Exile set the record at 107, and Tai Tai wanted 106 so badly, and he never got it because he got 105.45 instead. They skipped 106 entirely, and then I'm Exile while practicing for the Blitz race got 105.42.
And
Okay, so
that
it
is-
wasn't 102. I was fooled.
I
Katava
watched his thing there.
Your move, Tai
what-
Tai.
I will never be this fast. I will never ever be this
God.
fast. But watching his 1 hour and 5 minute thing, I'm confident it can be done in under an hour. For 4 different zones where he got bad RNG and bad layouts. One zone he reset because the bad layout was so bad. One zone he went clearly the wrong way in that cost him like 30 seconds, where he just missed the indicator. It was never going to be in that direction. It was a mistake. Two times he messed up in town that cost him like 20 or 30 seconds each. And he messed up on Innocence by missing phasing the boss by like a split hair. Like I swear he should have phased it. And he had to deal with an entire laser phase that he should have skipped. And like, I could never do it anywhere near that fast. I'm like 4 hours to that's not happening. But I think having watched that and seeing the little tiny mistakes for like 10 seconds here and 15 seconds here and then the bad RNG, with the right RNG, I think that can go under an hour. Somebody's going to get that in like 59 minutes.
So the craziest part is I'm Exile started playing Path of Exile in Metamorph.
Jesus.
Kids these days, am I right?
Yeah, so Mar and I did support on the race when Method put that one on way back, and he was one of the top racers at that point. That was in Delirium, or was that at the end of Metamorph? I can't remember, but he was a brand new PoE player still, and he was one of the top racers in that. So
Yeah,
this guy
wow.
is just
He had-
insane.
He had an
He's
interview.
still a
and
baby.
yeah.
How is
Yep.
he that fast?
You know what the
What
funny
the
part
hell?
is? We always had that, or not always, but there was the meme of like, you know what the best base for Path of Exile is? World of Warcraft. One of the best races in the world is I'm Exile. Best hardcore racer in the world for like major content right now is Darky. They're both WoW players. Waggle.
yeah.
Waggle's
Yeah.
a WoW player too.
Lighty,
Throw
yeah.
that out there.
Darky. Damn. He smashed the previous race. What is that Shopify race? Was with
The
Zizuru.
gauntlet, you mean?
Hmm?
The gauntlet or the boss kill race on the League start?
Gauntlet, the last one gauntlet that was happening. He smashed it absolutely, like kill, like what? How is this even like, dude? You're not like what?
The Gauntlet race is Darky's retirement fund, basically.
Yeah, that's what they're saying about this new Maven race.
Allegedly, he only has 3 days. This is what I was told earlier. I can't confirm. It was in the Reddit post that he only has like 3 days to actually play that. So I don't know. Let's see if he can kill Maven in 3 days.
What's happening?
Yeah.
I'd be so
Something
disappointed
to do with his WoW guild. He's like
Yeah.
under contract for WoW. Like that's his profession he gets paid for. So he's only got like 3 days to play PoE, and then he has to go do guild stuff.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And like that's his like profession. Path of Exile is his hobby. So he's got 3 days to win, which he probably will, and then go to work.
Also, that's why his name on Twitch is his name before was Darky. His name on Twitch is Lighty, because they didn't want to. There's some connotation, I guess, with the name of having it as Darky, so they made him change his name on Twitch.
Yep. Yeah,
Part of
only
his
needs
contract.
3 days. He's probably got time to take a day off.
That's
I'd be
great.
super disappointed if it was like just like with the harvest boss that it's done in a couple of days. And it likely will, but like it would be cool if it lasts between 1 and 2 weeks in total until
No.
the first Maven.
No.
build.
If it takes 2 weeks for the first Maven to be killed in hardcore, most softcore players won't even see it. That is the speed differentiation.
Right?
Nope, that's
By the
not
time
word.
that the first
Speed-
person reaches it in HCSSF, people on softcore will have already figured out the mechanics. You forget that this is an update. This is not just a leak. This will be available in permanent standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So people will have done the fight already when they reach it in hardcore.
Mhm.
Hardcore
Same thing that
SSF
happened during the
reaches it.
Awakener 8 race, right? People in Standard had already completed the fight before those in Hardcore SSF got a chance to try it. So there was a little bit of information about the fight already. So we already knew that we needed to be ailment immune and things like that. At least some of those mechanics will be discovered, but it also is going to come down to who is privy to that information, right? Some of those Standard players who were, rushing to Awakener 8 were kind of selling the information off to people. So see if that's
Well,
the case again.
If it will be streamers, they will have some people that will help them out, for sure. And like what happened with Awakener 8 race, it was in hardcore solo self-found as well, and it took a week for people first kill to come through. So if it takes about a week, I'm gonna be like, okay, that's pretty cool. If it's
a week
done in
would be fine.
2 days, then it's like, I mean, you kind of oversold it, but week, okay, that's
A
pretty
week would
good.
be fine. If
Yeah.
it takes as long as 2 weeks, I'm concerned that most players won't even see it at all.
What about so I don't know if you watched the announcement video from Zizren for his new event, that he spoke to staff from GG, and they said, apparently, according to what he says, is that the Maven fight is comparable to Uber Elder fight in difficulty, or like whatever.
They said that also on the discussion.
Oh, they did.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I said comparable to Uber Elder,
So
which I
how
really
long?
hope that's the case, because the Uber Elder fight is one of the best fights in any ARPG.
But how
Yeah, I really
long did it take people to kill Uber Elder first time around? It took it wasn't very.
Dan was the
don't
first
remember.
one, and I can't remember how long it took him, unfortunately, but Dan was the first person to kill it in hardcore, I think on Elemental Hit Scion.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if it took a week, that's, or maybe 2 weeks, I don't know. I kind of remember back in the day, I feel like when Shaper got released, it was so hard. It seemed hard. When Uber Elder got released, it seemed super hard. And nowadays we're like, what is this?
Terrified of Uber Elder.
Well, hardcore self-found, conditions you. But in softcore, I'm
True.
like, I can kill Awakener 8. I can pretty much kill anything. Except maybe Uber Ziri, because she's still a yeah.
There's some builds that are just so much better for Uber at Ziri than others, right? Like things like Earth Shatter, where you can drop all those down and then blow up the spikes when it goes to that mirror phase, or like a trap or mine build is just more conducive for those types of fights.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Earth Shatter is good for everything. It's good for Awakener, it's good for Uber Elder. It's good for everything.
We'll see, like all the balance changes that are going to be upcoming, right? We don't know what these other balance changes that are going to occur in 3.13 are. We know what they've told us so far, but when those patch notes hit, that'll be when things will really be evident.
Chris definitely emphasized in the Q&A that it's all about like shuffling those cards again and shaking up the game in a way that no one knows what's the best. And I think with the craftable watchstones and the regional trees and the new encounters that we'll get, that's a big step for the content. And then for the builds, we'll get extensive ascendancy reworks, at least partially extensive, but every ascendancy is said to have received some sort of adjustment. And then I think they said 40 skills in total have been buffed in order to make them more viable in today's meta.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they've only talked about 10 skills, so there's like at least 30 skills that we don't know. Like, can we quickly do a round while Balor is gone? What is your what kind of skill do you hope to be in there? Same question as on Bay class, but I think there's enough.
What kind of skill that I hope? I mean, it's all like, how many active skills are there? In its own
roughly 200, I think, between 100 and 200.
I don't know. Like, what would I want? No, I have no idea.
What skill would you be hyped to find out that it has been significantly buffed? A skill that you previously didn't consider worth playing, but that you always found interesting from a flavor or mechanic standpoint that you'd love to play?
I was really excited about Firestorm, but no matter what I tried, I went to Standard to try it after the patch hit. No matter what I tried, it was shit. So
Firestorm has been shown during the video where they mentioned that things have been buffed. So I think there's high chances that Firestorm actually received an update.
I mean, they did say that Firestorm got an update, but I just don't know if what they did will be enough to make it worthwhile. You know, maybe.
Reverse under Keck W.
Oh man, if they really do that, that would be such a big win.
Oh Jesus. I don't know if it's gonna happen. I don't know. For me, it's maybe there isn't a skill that I don't know why I've always been drawn to some of the skills that have fallen out of favor. I think it's maybe just because of nostalgia purposes, like Tornado Shot. I miss Tornado Shot.
Oh, bow skills in general.
Yeah, and that's I think the biggest thing for me. Just bow skills don't feel good right now, aside from Toxic Rain, Caustic Arrow, maybe. There's totem builds that are okay, like Explosive Arrow, Ballista Totem Hierophant is pretty cool. But aside from that, and the thing is for me, like, yeah, sure, I have some nostalgia for things like Firestorm back in the day, right?
Yeah.
But I also remember it more fondly than my FPS remembers it.
Well, they limited it, didn't they? They limited the storms, so that would help with you. But it just wasn't great. Like, from a stacking storms point of view, not enough damage. From on-hit point of view, with the big meteor, it's just not enough damage. It was just not. It looked epic. It just was like wah.
Yeah.
So
sad noises play as that meteor drops.
Yeah. It's what the dinosaurs wanted instead of what happened.
I've lost my glasses, so I can't read anymore. But it has to be bow and wand skills.
You're a true streamer now, right?
Yeah. I mean, he plays softcore for a reason, so.
It has to be bow and wand skills. I need them. I miss playing bows and wands.
But these aren't in a good place? Maybe?
Actually, that's Balor just said the one that I missed the most. Kinetic Blast was one of my favorite builds ever.
Yeah, I miss Kinetic Blast so much. And Warb. I'd really like to play Warb again. Warb was one of the most fun skills that existed when it first came out, and then they like completely gutted it and it's garbage. Please fix Warb.
Just the little song for, Warb versus Blade Vortex. Anything you can do, I can do better.
Yep.
Like when that came out, that was just the coolest skill.
Yep.
Never played Winter Orb, so I can't miss it.
So basically, they said I could be anything, so I became a turret.
One that moved really quickly.
I had to go back to just being a blender. I'm playing Blade Vortex.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. From the Ascendancies that they changed, though, the big changes, which one did you guys take a look at them?
I didn't even mention my skill.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Frostblades. I really want to see Frostblades used again. It's such a cool skill, but it just suffers so much from the fact that it has to use 2 threshold jewels to even do remotely decent single target damage. And yeah, it's just bad single target, even with both of those and a whole bunch of investment. You need to be so well geared for Frostblades to properly be able to do bosses. Yeah. And at the same time, you're melee, so you're at a disadvantage defensively speaking, so you need to invest more into defenses. And what was another thing I wanted to say? I forgot. Frostblades just feels bad,
Molten Strike.
Don't say Molten Strike.
Oh yeah, Molten Strike. Yes, it was so good. I loved Molten Strike before.
The kicker is, like, what if they make Frostblades? They increase its damage, they give it more single target, but then they give it the Molten Strike treatment where they have to hit a mob.
Yeah,
it already does have to hit a mob in order to spawn projectiles. Joke's on you.
Yeah, well, you have a little bit of a distance though. Like it's got a slight range to it.
Yeah, Frostblade's got like +8 melee range or something like that.
Yeah.
So even with like a close range melee weapon like a dagger or a claw, it feels really good because you can connect to the enemy. So I think that's something that Molten Strike would also like a lot. But it's partially fixed by Ancestral Call or Ancestral Cry, the new war cry, because that also gives you plus melee range. So it makes it a little bit easier to connect that initial melee attack from Molten Strike.
Yeah.
But still, Molten Strike feels terribly bad, man, in comparison
I
to
never
how it
even
was before.
considered melee skills because I don't think they're part of the game.
Why?
Because melee's garbage.
What?
Well, it's just terrible.
Melee?
It's not PoE. Melee is garbage in every game that's ever existed. Melee is garbage in real life. Melee is from the moment a caveman picked up a rock and figured out he could throw it, melee was at a disadvantage. It's been like that in every game. Melee is a trash way to play.
What?
I don't like it.
No, it's OP.
Right now, Melee's in a good spot with things like Earth Shatter and Bonk. Like Bonk is obscenely good. It's stupidly good. So basically, what I'm looking forward to in patch notes is that they just mentioned that Ground Slam and Call of Steel, their interaction was not what we intended. So we're nerfing Cyclone's range by 2.
The thing is, you say it's good. You still clear maps at 1/3 the rate of my range character.
From the perspective of like hardcore, I think it's exceptional right now. If I was playing softcore, I wouldn't touch melee with a 10-foot pole. With a bonk-sized pole, I wouldn't touch the melee with, because it's just there's no reason to do so. But in hardcore, where you require this level of tankiness that a champion kind of gives you, well then, it's a great build right now. It's very fast. It's exceptional with bossing, etc., and it has a very low cost of startup. But yeah, in softcore, I wouldn't touch that. The only melee I would play if I was playing softcore is cast on crit. That's melee.
I mean,
Kind of melee.
Yeah.
You have to go near them from the beginning when you want to trigger the things, and then everything dies on the screen.
Yeah.
The Catmaster was mentioning some of the Ascendancy changes, though.
Yeah, good segue. Ascendancy changes.
How many Ascendancies do you think are going to get gutted?
None of them.
Do you think they're going to be bad?
I think
I'm
Champ
worried
is
about
probably going to get hurt.
Which one?
Necro and Champ, yeah.
I'm worried about Necromancer and Assassin.
What do you think is going to be the changes for those?
I don't know, but I'm worried about them. I'm worried that they'll take away one of my +2 levels from Necromancer, which will make it a lot harder to hit 25. Level 25. And I'm worried about Noxious Strikes from Assassin, which might be okay to nerf, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be happy about it. It is very strong. I mean, I can make a 5x build and I can clear 100% Delirious tier 17 maps on it. So, like, maybe Noxious Strike's a little too strong. Like, I can't defend it, but I still don't want them to nerf it because it's fun. So, I think something's going to happen with it, but I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to gut as far as Ascendancies go, but I could see Necro receiving a nerf. I could see Champion receiving a nerf. Assassin, maybe. And I think what they might do at some of them is just kind of play around with the archetypes to an extent. Just by numerically changing a few things and making minor adjustments, it could shift the balance towards other Ascendancies. Like Assassin right now for Poison and Dot is phenomenal. Currently, Trickster has the anything non-poison Dot is a Trickster build, right? Aside from, I guess, Toxic Rain potentially and Caustic Arrow. But what if the balance got shifted a little bit and those were increased, and now suddenly it's viable for Trickster to be a poison balance, like a poison related build as well? And Assassin might receive that nerf that you're talking about, right? Might see shifts like that.
with the ones we've been shown so far, a lot of damage has been moved off the Ascendancies. Part of me that kind of hopes they do that for all of them, but compensate us for that damage on the passive tree, so we don't actually really become weaker, but we get to make Ascendancy changes based on playstyle and utility more than raw damage. I'm never really super interested in an Ascendancy that just gives raw damage. I take them because they're the strongest. Like Assassin's Noxious Strike isn't particularly interesting. It doesn't change my playstyle from a normal Poison Blade Vortex unascended build or a Pathfinder or anything else. It's just more damage. I take it because it's the strongest, but that's not interesting. And I'd love for all the damage or the majority of the damage to come from the actual tree, and then Ascendancies to be more like utility playstyle changes.
You're looking for unique interactions then, similar to like how unique items change a build in its entirety?
Yeah. Stuff like that. I don't know how far they're going to go with them, but like I feel like I would like that.
But where's the difference between something like you can attach an additional brand to an enemy from Hierophant and straight up giving something
Doesn't
like...
have that.
That's on the passive tree.
I'm an idiot. Okay, it's bad example. Yeah, no, it's on the passive tree. Yeah, no, it's you can cast an additional blind. No, bad example. But like something like that, or I can't come up with another example then. But like some things that are interesting mechanics, say Far Shot, for example, on the new Deadeye. You can also just express that as a pure numerical buff because, like, that's up to 60% more damage. Huh?
Well, it's a playstyle change though, because without it, you can attack from anywhere. You can be in close. With it, you want to be at range, which means you're going to want to kite stuff. You're going to want better movement spills. So
don't you want to make use of being ranged anyway in a ranged build and kind of keep people
at blank exists and that counters it.
Okay.
A lot of my bow and wand builds want to be up at melee range. Like I want to stand on top of the thing I want to kill, even though I'm using a ranged thing, because point blank exists and it changed the entire way I played the build. Right?
Okay, fair. I do understand your point a little bit better. That's mainly the reason why I tried to ask. So you can clarify a little bit there.
I feel like Essence Glutton's a good example on Necromancer. because that gives the availability of a mind over matter build or an archmage build or something. It changes the dynamic. It doesn't give you exactly a numerical change aside from your mana regens numerically changed, but it gives a unique interaction of some kind with corpse removal and mana. It opens up the availability of a lot of different types of builds. Without Essence Glutton, you would never see an Archmage build on Necromancer. You would rarely see MOM as a thing, things like that.
That's a fair point, but like what I always look at numerical damage perks from Ascendancy as is, well, now you get all this damage from the Ascendancy, and that allows you to build your tree differently because you don't require to pick up that damage scaling from the tree or on your gear. So you can make different choices there. It opens up space in the build to make different choices than you would otherwise make.
I mean, just plain damage is not very interesting. That's true. But I don't think they're gonna be very like nerfy with the Ascendancies. I think they're just, maybe they will nerf. I mean, Assassin was super popular. I mean, and hard.
Assassin is the strongest Ascendancy. It is the most tanky and the most damage Ascendancy on the entire tree. Assassin's the best.
Most tanky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Assassin is
also
the tankiest Ascendancy.
totally underestimated that elusive stuff. Just
I mean,
without being assassin is so good.
Elusive's pretty good, yeah, but I wouldn't say it's the most tanky.
I would.
I guess it depends on the definition of tankiness, whether it is you can take sustained damage or you can avoid damage in its entirety, which is what Assassin does exceptionally well. It avoids damage until it's hit. If you have Wind Dancer, if you have Kintsugi, things like that will mitigate some of that damage taken. It'll make an extremely tanky Ascendancy. But otherwise, if you're looking for straight up mitigation, things like Champion or potentially Necromancer for avoidance with block ability. But yeah, Assassin is obscenely tanky. It was one of the favorites also in the Gauntlet race, which is crazy to think of. Because when looking at Assassin, it's like, oh, but RNG can strike and you can just die.
But in reality, it doesn't happen so long as you've got the other defensive layers to go with it. It's just if you're like, oh, I'm just an assassin with a bit of dodge and elusive, yeah, occasionally you'll just get slapped in the face and you'll die. But like you said, if you go Wind Dancer, Kintsugi, and maybe get a Blind Aura in there, and suddenly you don't die ever.
So I did find something that could kill me, actually. I was racing on that build in the Mayhem flashback. I was pushing. That was probably the fastest I've ever gone in a character. It was good times until Fractured Drox banner. So what happens if it has Fracture is it replays the animation of it dropping down. So there was a Chance Orb on the ground that I just really wanted for some reason after killing this rare Drox banner. And suddenly, 6 banners drop from the sky. And I'm talking like 6.5k HP, Kintsugi, Phase Acro, Wind Dancer, boom. None for a freaking Chance Orb.
That would have been hilarious to watch.
I got the clip somewhere. I can send it to you later. I caught it on Shadowplay because I wasn't streaming at the time, but oh my god.
Nice.
Classical off stream rip.
Yeah, it was. I think I got to level 94 in something like 18 to 20 hours in SSF HC. Like I think I was about 10%, 15% away from 94. And then just I got banned. Bannered, I guess.
And just slap.
Delay the law.
That's great.
So it is killable though. Something can kill it.
Yeah. It's also pretty weak to degens, but
oh, true. Yeah. Same with Champion, though, as well. Like, one of the tankiest Ascendancies, you get 20 stacks of Corrupting Blood without a Jewel or some sort of degen from Delve or something, and you're on the floor.
Apart from Assassin.
Sorry?
Apart from Assassin, I mean, it's been super popular also. Not only, I mean, it's popular for a reason, but it's just very popular. But I don't think they will nerf that much. I don't think they're gonna
I think
nerf.
generally with GGG, like their approach to balancing Ascendancies has always been to just buff the ones that are not used as much. And like there is some small nerfs, right? Like Deadeye specifically hasn't been nerfed, but that's something Yoji pointed out in a video. Is like Tailwind got nerfed for everyone who is not a Deadeye because they reduced the base action speed increase from Tailwind down to 8% rather than 10%, and then they increased the scaling that Deadeye gets. So Deadeye can still caps out at the maximum 20% increased action speed from Tailwind, but everyone who's not a Deadeye will only get 8%, so from Tailwind boots, for example. And so I could imagine that they do like small changes like that, like from 10% down to 8%, something like taking 20% away from something, but they probably try to add interesting interactions to stuff that is not as favorable right now. Give them some skill-specific stuff or some new little mechanic, and not so much nerf the things that are super strong. But I mean, I could definitely see that Assassin loses some sort of, of elusive bonus or some poison bonus, because that shit's absurd. But
can see them, like with Ascendancies, they haven't really done the kill it with fire approach, which they've done to a whole lot of other stuff.
Skills really often.
Yep.
Like, this skill's a little bit strong. Here's 9 different ways we could nerf it. Fantastic. Do all of them.
Oh yeah, the classic GGG 4 ways nerf.
Yeah. That they don't tend to do that to Ascendancies as much. So that's
well, if they're not occultist.
Oh yeah,
true. The way they've killed Ascendancies is by releasing part of that Ascendancy into some other fashion, right? Tailwind Boots existing basically went, why the heck would I play Deadeye? And Occultist, Wicked Ward getting pulled onto the tree, and Occultist getting nerfed in general as well.
Anything.
All that energy shield lost from Occultist. Damn, Occultist was so good.
Yeah, but it was also kind of a free CI build pre-maps, basically.
True.
It's really good. I mean, didn't they nerf that assassin charges? I blank on the name. The defensive layer. They nerfed. Yeah, didn't they nerf them already once?
Tryxter probably, the ghost shrouds? Or
maybe it was ghost shrouds. Maybe it was, because I kind of remember Tryxter was also super popular. And then I guess they nerfed it slightly. And then become less popular.
It's still really popular at League Start. It seems to be just such a tanky, strong ascendancy for a dot-based build, primarily, Essence Drain Contagion. But aside from that being a very strong build, is Tryxter's falling out of favor a little bit?
I mean, Assassin was bees knees. And so, let's talk about Saboteur now. Poor Saboteur, left out always. Poor Saboteur. I'm hoping that they're gonna buff it real good, so I can feel really good about playing Saboteur.
I think Sab is better than a lot of people give it credit for, or than it is represented in the numbers of how many people play it. I think Sab is a really solid ascendancy at this point. It doesn't need that much to be on par.
I can tell you why. Saboteur is a shit ascendancy.
Is it because of mines and traps being... Yeah.
For anyone not watching, I'm holding up my hand with the compression glove on it because my hand's hurt. That's why Sab is garbage.
Yeah. I did not have any issues with RSI until I played in... Osuke and Lifting Nerd Bro had a league 2 years ago, I think. And I ended up deciding to play Arc Mines in that. Oh my god.
Well,
since that day.
Since they changed mines, it has gotten better, but still. It has gotten better because you are incentivized to just put a bunch of them down and then just do the sequence. Still, if you depends on how you want to play it.
Well, the fair is also to say that you can put instant skills on the left mouse button now, so a lot of people, I know for boss fighting that's unfavorable, but a lot of people have gone to put detonate mines on their left mouse button for farming situations, so that it's a lot less problematic in terms of spamming buttons. At least in comparison to other builds. It's still Path of Exile after all, but...
Yeah, you sort of ruin your control over having like extended sequences, but
Yeah.
it's worth it to not murder your hands anymore.
Yeah. It was pretty rough. I mean, I remember back in the day, people used detonate totems because of how rough it was. Because the spam is just so intense. Whatever finger you're using it with for is just painful. Yeah.
I was
But
delivered breakfast during the podcast.
Who's having breakfast?
I just got delivered breakfast.
Oh, you get delivered breakfast. Well, don't forget to mute your mic when you try to sink your teeth in.
Especially when you unwrap it. That's the worst part.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by...
No.
What's the PogChamp breakfast delivery?
It's not Pog. But it got delivered, so I'll eat it. It's just McDonald's breakfast.
Aww.
That has a certain appeal.
Yeah. It's food.
It has a really good appeal when you're hungover.
Did you have a party yesterday, Balor?
Its appeal is that it came to my room. That's its appeal.
By itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got into the Ascendancies. Is there any like specific stuff that you want to talk about with the Ascendancies, or should we agree to drop the topic now, pick it up later again? Because there's so much we already know about the Ascendancies, especially about the 4 that they've already revealed to be, 3 of them are extremely intense reworks, right? The Deadeye, the Inquisitor, and the Elementalist. And we've also seen the Hierophant, which received some stuff. But we haven't seen any of the other ones. Oh, Slayer. Yeah, right. So we've seen 5 in total. But there's an entire league mechanic we haven't talked about yet. And that's Ritual League. So how hyped are you about having encounters actually in maps?
In the map.
Like, not having to leave your map in order to engage with the league. How cool is that?
Ooh.
Yes.
So the leagues that I've always enjoyed have been ones where I can just map and not have to really worry about a whole whack of other things that I require doing. Like I was not a fan of Synthesis League because every 10 maps I have to do my Nexus. But I'm in the mood for mapping right now. I'd like to continue mapping and just enjoy this mapping progression that I'm doing. But no. I got to go do my Synthesis stuff. Oh, and I forgot. Now I'm full on Delve. Now I got to go Delve for a little bit. And it just became this, I could never get into a rhythm. With Ritual, that sounds good. It sounds good. I always enjoy leagues where the mapping or the mechanic is ingrained within the zone itself. Heist I didn't enjoy also because it brings you over to another area, which I understand some people like. But
at the very least, Heist didn't force me to do the content because I'd filled up on it.
Yes, agreed.
Yes,
if you were someone who wanted to do Heist, you could Heist all day and then not Heist for 2 days and just do your mapping and just collect them.
I agree 100%.
Is good enough.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy my delving and I mean, I like Heist and stuff like that. But with Delve is like, well, now I have to do it, or I have to at least go down next to Nico and ask him to make my pouch bigger so I can bring more sulfite so I don't have to stop mapping. And same with like incursions. And I mean, bestiary is fine because you can just keep getting the beasts also, so it's not biggie. But other stuff like it's a bit, not that like I don't mind doing that content if I want to do it, but I'm ready to have some in-area combat again. Like, just go straight mapping, progression, let's go.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really happy about it being in map again.
I always like leagues like that, like Delirium, where you engage with the mechanic really quickly and then you are engaging with it during the map. Although I know Delirium had its own massive issues, such as looting. But it was always more enjoyable than having to be pulled out of your map to be able to do something and forced to do it, like you were saying, Balor, where Heist luckily didn't force you into it.
I have one concern. Let me run a scenario by people.
Well, maybe we should quickly explain the league mechanic for those who haven't seen it?
I mean, that seems nice. That doesn't really suit my MO, but you can.
That doesn't suit the podcast. That would be too good. Well, I don't know whether I got it right. So again, correct me at any point if I say something wrong. But basically, ritual, you find shrines in the map which involve or like are associated with the monsters that spawn next to it. And then when you activate the shrine, you have to kill the monsters again after you killed them. Like you kill the monsters and you have to kill them again after you activate the thing. But at the same time, you're fighting the shrine, and in some way or form, the monsters are augmented. And then in the end, which is the very special thing, you get to pick the rewards. Wait, let's quickly find the ritual thing in the trailer so people can actually see it at the same time. After you've... Yeah, please.
No. You can continue. Explain.
Well, I was just gonna get to the reward. Like, there's some aspects that I haven't explained yet, but basically, in the end of the encounter, you have a certain amount of tribute based on how hard the encounter was, I suppose, how many monsters were in the thing, and then you can actually purchase or pick your reward from a reward screen window, which spawns several different types of rewards, similar like to Delirium or the all the past lead mechanics like Metamorph or Blight. There's different categories of loot, like there's Breach rewards, Abyss rewards, Essence rewards, and currency and all that sort of stuff. Armor, blacksmiths. I mean, we saw that in Heist as well. Heist had the same reward structure, but here you actually get items from a number of categories in the reward screen, and you get to pick with the currency system. And the cool thing here is that, unlike with Pirandus, where you could get a headhunter and then you don't have the currency to actually buy it, and then in SSF you're like, well, fuck my life. But here you can actually defer the item, which is a mechanic that allows you to kind of down pay. There's a certain cost associated with the deferring or deferral. And then in the next time you get to pick a reward, that item appears again, but at a lower price. And you can do that infinitely,
Yes.
if I understand correctly, until you can afford it, basically.
Yep.
So
Put your headhunter on layaway.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here's my concern. And it's the only concern I have with the whole league. Let me run a scenario by you. You're running your nice, juicy tier 16 maps. You find yourself a headhunter reward. Brilliant. I can't even afford 20% of it, but I can lay by it. I can press the defer button. It was great. You run 2 more maps. You defer it 2 more times. You're starting to pay off the headhunter. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. The Guardian map spawns. Sweet. I'll run that. I'm gonna go kill Drox. Because it's a white map that doesn't have any modifiers, you don't have enough to pay off your lay-by in that map, and you have to watch your headhunter disappear. Alternatively, you start a map, you run 2 of the things, and then the map crashes, and you lose your headhunter that you've deferred 4 times already, and you're not there yet, you haven't paid it off, and it's gone now.
Me. So, I don't know, FAQ came out, okay? Did you read the FAQ? I assume you haven't. You haven't read the
No,
Well, you read it, because in FAQ they spoke exactly about this. They said
did that? Okay, I only skimmed it. I guess I missed that.
Because they said that the more times you refer it, even if you skip it let's say you would skip 1 time because you can't afford it, what it will happen is that because you've done it many times, the same amount of times, you will still see that item, but the cost will go up. So let's say you've deferred an item 4 times. So, and you can't, for whatever reason, you can't afford to defer it again. So you don't do anything. Next time you run again, next encounter where you have where you can get the tribute, you will see that item. The cost will just have gone up again until it goes up and up again until it reaches its original cost.
Original price.
At which point, if you don't defer it will disappear.
Okay.
So there is some like system in place that you wouldn't, like in these kind of situations, it wouldn't be like you lost your item, but you would lose some progression, obviously, because every time you defer it, you lose some tribute, you pay, and then you, like you did a map, you can't.
Honestly, if a map crash costs me 1 extra map away from my headhunter, I'm still gonna be happy about that.
Yeah. No, it's good that they have a system in place.
Because that was one of my biggest concerns, was like, oh, my map crashed. Oh, my headhunter. No.
Did they touch on whether or not this happens with the reroll as well? Because there's a reroll button, right, where you can reroll the window once in a map.
Well, I don't know if they said anything whether the deferred items keep in the reroll. I have no idea about that.
I'm curious about that, because the feeling of accidentally rerolling.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense that the deferred items, because they have like a little icon next to them, it would make sense that you keep them, but because let's say you defer an item, right, and you still have tons of tribute, and you don't want any of those items that you have left over, but you want to spend your tribute because it doesn't transfer over. So
it doesn't carry over. So
so it would make sense.
They mention also whether these items are account wide, like your tribute window is account wide or character. Because I just have that feeling that I'm going to die at some point with a headhunter in that window, and I'm never going to see it again on my next characters.
I think it's probably character. I don't think it makes sense to be character.
White maps at T1 are back on the menu.
Like, oh, there's a headhunter in that window. I'm just running tier 1 maps until I get it.
If you run tier 1 maps,
I put a reflect map in.
Yeah, you can't afford to defer it again. Then you can't afford. It's gonna disappear. So you would have to do some form of reasonably difficult, reasonable content that would give you at least the deferral cost until you can afford it, right? But there is a system like that in place, which is good.
And Burning City Live is also saying in chat that when they showed the reroll in the video, there was a deferred item that stayed. So.
Oh yeah, well there we go. Cool. Because I guess the stuff that was showed, maybe they didn't cover in the Q&A. Yeah.
So here's the thing. All of our concerns are all based around the reward structure. Everyone is just defaultly happy with the league mechanic. Right?
Well, I think
yes and no.
I think most people are ready to stay in maps. To be honest, we've had 2 leagues already where you kind of have to leave the map, and Harvest was like, well, you kind of have to manage your thing there, not necessarily fight anything. Sometimes you just go in there to manage your seeds, whatever layout. I mean, of course, once you've set that up, it's like all about like going in fighting, but still, so I think people are just ready to stay in maps and just smash monsters. That's it.
So my issue is, in true GGG fashion, there is going to be an on-kill effect, right?
Oh.
There's going to be something like that. And you're stuck in a small area, well, relatively small area, and you can't exit that area, right? They said that you're tied to that that ritual. So that's the only thing that I can foresee, a lack of visual clarity within a small area of a bunch of mobs, especially on, your 3rd or 4th or however many, because they had several potential rituals in one map.
What's it up to 3 or 4? It was definitely not more than 4.
Okay. I think they said 4 in Q&A.
So think about if there's 3 or 4 that are pulling in mobs from the previous ones, you are lacking visual clarity right off the bat there. Now add on their tendency of doing on-kill effects. I'm just foreseeing that as an issue. I don't know if it will be, but remember Harvest and the on-kill effects, blue on blue and things like that?
Yeah, imagine delirium monsters all like, let's say you start a ritual which will
you can do rituals during delirium, right?
Get all the delirium monsters on that effects, like all those explosions that are delayed right in that little area. It doesn't, I mean, you have a place to move around, but still, like, yeah, I don't know, it's gonna be quite spicy. I think it's not gonna be so, oh yeah, we're killing monsters, nothing's happening. No. There's going to be some.
This will promote open maps as well, rather than ones that are going to be like, say, would you want to do a ritual in dungeon?
Oh, yeah.
Well, would you want to do dungeon first off?
It's a better question. No,
Yeah.
well, actually, that's a good point. In map, well, no, actually, if because of the arena being locked the way it is, I'm thinking that the maps will spawn the terrain. Even if it's dungeon, it will have one big room or 2 or 3 big rooms where the rituals are inside.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
what
kind
I
of like
imagine.
fortification or something.
Imagine that it forces it over the current map. Like you've got dungeon, but on dungeon, there's just 4 really big open areas where the rituals happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be
Yeah, I
cool.
think so.
Yeah, that's. I think it's gonna be like fortification forces.
I still
map.
wouldn't run dungeon, but like
Well, yeah. Once
it would
for
be
the
cool.
that's it. But yeah.
No, that actually makes a lot of sense what you're saying there. That it's like in with the fortification. The
And actually,
technology is there.
I'm not sure if I even considered this. Is it going to be in maps or when does it start? Ritual.
From the
I mean,
beginning.
it's a new league. Obviously, it's from the first
League
zone
mechanic
on
it has
coast.
to be in, yeah.
Because most
Okay.
people don't even kill Brutus, so like they would never see the league. They always in challenge leagues they always put the league mechanic right into the beginning.
Like,
So now I
host-
foresee a major problem actually, as far as a racing perspective goes. We are now going to have, if we do have these little side areas that like fortification creates, Betrayal was a nightmare for racers because if there's a fortification, it actually changes the way that the map is structured. Same thing with if there's a Val side area. Reading zones is going to be a pain in the ass if that's
I
the
like
case.
that though. I like it when there's like a bigger random factor, and also
No.
the reading layouts is
My layout knowledge.
yeah. I don't have any, so for me it's only better.
Yeah, I get lost all the time, so this is only enough to other people.
This is a buff for the great majority of players. No, what did I want to say is the part where you read layouts is a very very small part of the. Well, I guess if you're talking about like act races, sure, but if in a bigger context of the Zizaran League Start race sponsored by Shopify, once again. Great stuff, shoutouts, and so on. I really am happy that there's so much racing action and that there's so much interest generated in Path of Exile.
I don't think it was happening while this podcast is going on, but today and tomorrow there's the Havoc races.
Yeah, for something like that. But you can do that in Standard League if you don't want to do it with the league mechanic, right? If you want people to just get the fastest times that they can get and to prove their layout skills, sure. You don't have to do it in the Challenge League.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I get the point. You would want to do it in the Challenge League because you want to give a fresh experience.
We do have to consider, though, that if it's done in a Challenge League, that everybody's on the same playing field still, though.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
Everybody gets shafted by RNG. Not everybody.
It's
Somebody
kicking my EPeen for having learned these layouts, and then I throw a wrench in my gears and all that.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, I mean it's a big expansion. It's reasonable to assume that they may have added some tiles, like some new rooms in different tile sets, or changed the weighting of how different tile sets generate. I remember Chamber of Sins level 2 was way different in Act 2 a while ago than it is now. Now it almost always, like 90% of times, generates like downwards.
They matched the Act 7 layout of it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It almost always used to be up and left.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right.
They say that
Trial
they
in
are
one area, Fetalites in the other always, but no longer.
Didn't they say that they're gonna do something with layouts? I think they always say it when they're gonna do it. Like tweak how often different layouts spawn, because they did say that for Path of Exile 2, they want super random layout generators, like so random that there's no point of learning them. So I think if they were doing something like that, I assume they would tell us. And they haven't mentioned anything about that, so I don't think layouts are going to change. I mean, the layouts that we have.
I feel like when it changed in the past, they haven't mentioned it. But
they
I
haven't
don't know.
mentioned it.
Oh well, okay.
But the kicker is if they do create it so that it's a true random generation, I think that almost does a bit of a disservice to the game, because things like Grain Gate, for example, how there's the bodies, lining the correct way to go. There's things like Heidi's area where you go towards the one wagon rather than the two.
Well, those
think
things
those
are
are-
still going to be in the game. They said that they want more. They want to rely more on natural tells rather than people figuring out how a layout generates. That they want people to look out for specific clues in the layout.
Yeah, see, that's where I was going with this. If they make it so that those are part of a majority of the zones where you actually are required to, have some sort of guidance to it rather than it being a linear zone, great. I think that's a positive change. And I think that naturally when it comes to speedrunning, knowledge is a very important part, right? So having even these little tells which most people don't see are extremely important. Creating complete random generation just makes it feel bad, because then to get a perfect run or a good run even, you have to be blessed with layouts, which wouldn't feel good. But hopefully, yeah, as you said, if they keep these little small tells in, they create it so that it's based off of these small tells that are relatively obvious. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would level the playing field also between people just trying to get into racing and people who already have tons of experience.
As far as I can tell, nearly every zone has indicators too. Nearly every zone.
Yeah, a lot of them do. The only thing is they're so insignificant to the majority of players that they don't really see them.
Me. I only know the 3 popular ones, and that's it.
Everything, like even the ledge. Like if you just take the waypoint to the ledge, there's the 3 little stones pointing you an arrow that continues onwards. Yeah. Not that you can get lost on the ledge, but like if you came back to it for some reason, then there's always an arrow that points you in the right direction. Like they're everywhere.
Wait, okay. When you said you only know the 3 common ones, was that like figuratively speaking, or is it literally 3? Because which other 2 ones do you know?
Having the corpses in the marketplace, right? Then the wagon for
Gate, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And that's it. It's like, I mean, now on the top of my head, those are the 3 ones that like come to my mind.
But Western Forest, you know as well.
Does it have a tell? I don't know. Does it?
Well, I guess it's not really a tell, but like Alira's camp is always on the opposite side of the road from the waypoint, and there's like these little
backwards,
at the waypoint there is a torch, right? A standing torch on the waypoint at the side, which leads to where the path to Alira branches off, and where the path to Alira branches off, there's 2 torches, I think.
I knew about that she's always on the opposite side from the waypoint, but I never
actually
knew
the reverse. She's always on the side of the waypoint. Weaver's on the opposite side.
Sorry. Thanks for correcting me.
I knew about
you
that.
can always tell in Oak's area. You can always tell where the waypoint in Oak's area is, because of which way his door is facing when you get to Oak.
So the waypoint is on the opposite side, or the same side.
If you were to run through Oak's room and out the back, you would almost run directly into the waypoint in every instance. There's only like 4 places where the waypoint can be, so sometimes it's like a little bit off to the right or a little bit off to the left. But the idea is it's directly through the camp.
Wait, it can still be on the bottom left, or did they remove that layout? It can still be where you have Oak's camp being aligned so that the exit is to the top right, and then the waypoint is at the very bottom left of the layout.
You can still have it where basically if you enter the zone, the wetlands, and you go straight and a little bit to the left, there's Oak's area, and then left and down is where the exit is. But I think that's only in 1 instance.
And then there's like Solaris and Lunaris. There are in the temples. There are near the waypoints. There are specific. There's a table with little cups and little plates on it, and it will tell you which way to go. Little cups and plates. They point in the right direction.
Figure this out. I had no idea.
I'm slightly autistic. That's how.
I just run through the thing and I get to where I have to go eventually, and that's what I do. I never
Have you ever come up Solaris in part 2 and then accidentally left the wrong way instead of going to level 2?
I don't think I
Because
have
there are
actually.
3 exits from that one zone.
Is
There
there?
are 3 exits from that one zone.
I
Right?
know.
There's the place
They're
you
always in the
come
same orientation, though.
Wait, are we talking about like the? We're talking about like the second part now, right? Not the first part. The second
The
part.
thing is,
Or
they're
Solaris
not
1,
always
actually.
in the same
second part.
orientation. But
No,
there's
I
an
always.
indicator that always tells you which way to go.
Well, that's kind of cool, but I always somehow end up in the right place. I don't know. I just stumble upon it. It's magic.
Hmm.
I mean, probably that helps you do it faster because I just run and I kill some monsters and I ended up where I had to go.
And like,
That's also one of the
Lunaris has
things,
maps that lead you
at
in the
the end of
correct
the day,
direction.
when it comes to racing, at the end of the day, one of the least important things potentially is layout knowledge, because worst case scenario is you're still killing mobs and catching up in XP a lot of the time if you end up getting the wrong layout once in a while, or if you end up misreading the layout once in a while. But
Once in a while, not all the time.
yeah, if you're doing that every single time, you're like over leveled for
That's
sure.
good.
But
I mean, I've seen a few videos of racers, and so I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like the right way. Oh yeah, it was the right
There's-
way. Oh no, it was
There's
the wrong way.
one.
Oh,
There's one I can never get in Solaris level 2. I can never get this right, but when you spawn into Solaris level 2, you can check where your feet are and on what tile they're on, and it will tell you exactly what direction the boss is.
Lunaris
Or
2.
where to go upstairs.
Yeah, it's
I never
Lunaris
get it
2,
right.
but I think they've
Solaris
changed
2.
it actually since that video got put out a while ago. So
Oh,
I tried testing this a little while ago, and it actually seemed to be slightly incorrect now. But yeah, it's basically where you spawn, which tile your foot is on.
Yeah.
how do people even figure this out? Like what?
I don't know.
Bigger brains than mine.
Yeah.
The guy who put the video out did like several hundred instances.
Holy
Like
shit.
recorded it all and took notes.
So there's
That's
one really
crazy.
easy one though for Lunaris 2 at least. If you the first way that you walk up the stairs, sometimes there's only one occasion where it goes in kind of like a loop. But whichever way you walk up the stairs first, the second and third will face the exact same way as well.
Yeah.
So
But there
there's
can
that
there
at
can
least.
be 2 stairs that lead up to the first upper level, or
Yeah.
the second level, as if you will, and then you have to figure out which one of those is the one that dictates the direction of the rest.
Mhm.
Basically,
Sometimes I wonder how many of these were intentional, because some of them definitely are, and how many of them become things that the player base has noticed that have just happened via accident because of the way they generate the levels.
There has
Because
to
I'll
be
bet some of them are like that. I'll bet some of them are just, we've figured out, just by a coincidence, because of the way they're generated, all of them will have this exact pattern.
I mean,
can
the
you
tile
draw a
thing-
clear line though between where the intentions of the designer are in terms of like guiding players and in terms of providing players just space to play? Because that's what essentially level design is, right?
I mean, like
I
when there's
think it's
something
blurry.
obvious, like the
The bodies on the floor at the entrance to the doors. Like, that's
Yeah, exactly.
obviously an intentional thing. They put that there.
But like
the
the
intent of
tile,
leading us.
when you spawn in a zone, like you notice which your foot is on which tile. Come on, that just makes that only makes sense if it's like degenerates to this side, so you have tiles on this side or tiles to that side or something. Like that has to be that way because
Hold on.
unless this is big brain strat and like there's like all these little clues and we've never noticed them before. And it's like Easter eggs galore and maybe fishing is real. Who knows?
Hold on. I'll need this for this discussion. Give me a second. Let me just get the... Okay. Now we're ready.
You ready to talk about
continue onward.
Wait, did you prepare that tinfoil hat just for the podcast, or?
Oh yeah. That was the amount of prep that I did. All I did was make the tinfoil hat, and that's it. And you know what? It was there for like 3 seconds, and that's good enough for me. Every time I talk, you just hear the crinkle.
It's perfect. It was even audible nicely, so it's definitely people on the audio version also figure that one out. Well, that was a big sidetrack from the ritual mechanic into a little bit of this and that about layouts in Path of Exile. But do you guys have any other concerns about the mechanic other than potentially losing your loot, which I think has been solved by the answers given to the FAQ? And at least partially.
Crashing my server.
Maybe the lack of depth to it potentially might get old fairly quickly, but we're given an absolute ton of new content when it comes to echoes. It's the same thing with Metamorph. Metamorph wasn't exactly the most compelling mechanic on its own, but we're not going to look back at Metamorph and say that was a bad league because we had so much more additions to the game with Conquerors, right?
And if you notice, because it's an expansion this time around, the logo says Echoes of the Atlas, not Ritual, like any other league would say, Harvest or whatever, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, so I'm sure there will be a Ritual logo.
Maybe, maybe not. Anyways, what I'm wondering about is whether there will be some kind of like encounter. So let's say, I don't know, there is like a way to add extra monsters to the ritual, right? It's like some kind of thingamajiggy that you put in your map device.
Right.
So how do you get these thingamajiggies? Where do you get them from? Because if you notice from the video, in the loot section, there's something like splinters. And so I was wondering whether those splinters are the ones you have to buy to combine into 100 to get one of those little thingamajiggies, or what if there's some kind of bigger boss? Because let's be honest, like just the ritual, I mean, it's nice, but would be kind of nice if there's some kind of like a bigger boss encounter, maybe. Just something to find out, like, experience, doesn't have to be. So I want, those are my thoughts.
Wait, is that new splinters? Or I thought they were just Legion splinters here.
No, they are new splinters. Wait, let me see if I can see if.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing.
No, look at the Path of Exile echoes.
Oh yeah, here, this one.
It's like if you see the picture.
It's like a bunch of gray straws held together by like a white banderole thing.
So I'm wondering whether those are the splinters you have to buy if you want to make those, whatever they're called. I keep forgetting the name. Like tribute holders or something.
I've been calling them Pokeballs.
They're vessels, okay. They're vessels, they're named vessels. So
there's the ritual vessel and then a blood-filled vessel once you fill it up.
So I wonder if it's that ritual vessel is the thing you get the splinters for.
Maybe. I'm really sick of splinters, I hope not.
Well, tough luck, I guess. Unless you can...
There are also new boss fights with the Ritual League as well, right?
Did they? I don't think... Did they?
Yeah, I thought
there's new map bosses. I know that.
I mean, map the shrines.
Bosses.
I mean, the shrine is kind of like a boss during the ritual, right? The shrine has these effects. Like in the one example, we saw these beams rotating that threaten you.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, they have variety, I suppose. I don't know. I just would love to see some kind of... We've finally sacrificed enough monsters, and now we summon this big bad whatever, like demon from the underground. I don't know.
I feel like I'm going to be too distracted with echoes to care if there's not a boss fight.
Yeah, that's maybe there won't be. It would make sense if there wasn't.
Yeah, I'd be fine with it just being farming content.
Even and all the other stuff, I don't even think I'll notice if there's not a ritual boss fight.
Because there was no Metamorph boss fight either.
Well,
that was a disappointment though.
People did say that there was kind of like implication that there should have been, but...
Yeah, just like with Blight. Yeah, no, I mean, it's always nice to have something like that. I'm all for more content, but I do think that we can't really complain about the amount of content that we're getting in this expansion.
That's true. We have our hands full with Maven, that's true.
Yeah.
Will have.
I can't wait to kill her. That's gonna be
I
fun.
can't wait to be killed by her.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Like, how difficult do you think is gonna be the 10 boss fights? The 10 boss fight.
I think you can pick easy ones. I think you can pick hard ones, right?
Yeah.
Like, didn't they inherit the level of what where you did them at? So if you just do a
No,
lot
if
of
apparently
there's-
not.
they have their own set level.
Yeah, they will
if their own set
scale.
level. Okay, yeah,
So the quest ones, apparently you can pick up low level ones of, so you can get little baby ones for the like early things. But when it gets to the 10 boss fight, it's just an 86 zone, I think, and
okay.
everything is scaled to 86.
Yeah.
So you don't get away with like getting
Jesus.
baby ones.
Where did I pick that information up and mix it up? Then was that the monsters that you can seal with the league
Might have been
currency from
83.
Ritual? That those keep their level?
Yeah,
When
those
you add
people
them.
are-
Okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, that's where I mixed it up. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy then.
So wherever Val Temple is, we're not doing that region, right?
Yeah, I don't exactly
about
need
that.
that.
Wait,
map
You got
boss
the 3
in-
from Val Temple plus 7 others.
that's actually a good point.
I love
Wait,
Lady
do
Six.
multi bosses count as 3 bosses?
I mean, multi-boss
I-
will count as a boss because it's just like the boss encounter. But if you were to play twinned map, only one copy would be. So if you do twinned, like 3 boss map, you get 6 bosses in the map, but you would still get just the 3 bosses for Maven.
In the trailer, if you look at some of the ones that are encapsulated in the whole celestial sphere thing, one of them is actually the duelist from Adzeri's area. So I'm assuming, yeah, it's per boss.
Yeah.
So not like per whatever the map boss is, but I guess each one of them are considered a boss.
Oh, so you think if you did a 3 boss map, you would get like 3 contributions to the fight?
I don't know if you get 3 contributions to it. It might just take one of them and make that a contribution to it. But
Okay.
yeah,
I
in one
wonder-
of the trailers, you can see, yeah, what might it looks like it at least. It could be the. Actually, I'm pretty darn sure it's the duelist from Adzeri's area. He's stuck
Well-
inside a sphere when it does a close up on it.
You know what I'm thinking? There's definitely going to be a challenge. Like, you have to collect these kind of bosses and fight them all together. Like all
Oh, Lord.
all the Elder Guardians. I don't know if you can do the maybe? I don't know.
Wait, if
I think
you
it's
do
just map
shock and
bosses.
horror in that arena, how are you gonna break the beam?
Run
You
a
don't.
circle around her, I guess.
Run through her or kill her first.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just kill her before you get hit.
There's, oh no,
I
well,
wonder
no.
how many different versions of Dodri are going to be in the same region.
Oh no.
Get all the
Oh, Lord.
good.
I would like to fight every version of Dodri at the same time, please.
Well, sadly, they are not in the same zone. That's the problem. They're not in the same region usually.
Would the Atlas get shuffled every time? It's going to look different next league. We don't know what it looks like yet.
True. Maybe at some point you get.
So what you're
your-
saying, you want the true depraved trinity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Why are you the way that you are?
Because I spent 20,000 hours in hardcore first.
True.
And now I play softcore.
He went through blood and fire to get to this point.
Yeah. I started my PoE career in hardcore and played 20,000 hours in hardcore without touching anything except hardcore. And
Same
then
here,
went softcore.
actually.
Just
I
not
haven't
all.
switched to softcore yet. Maybe like Balor is like the final form of me. 'Cause I started in Nemesis playing hardcore because that's what a friend of mine played and told me to play it. And now I would not recommend, by the way, to anybody who is watching this podcast and is thinking of starting Path of Exile or anything potentially, do not start in hardcore, for the love of God. That's like showing up to I don't know, like
I mean,
year
jumping in
3 university math and not having completed high school math.
I always compare it to poker playing. It's like going all in on a hand that you couldn't see or something like that, right?
Well, no, I like how Catmaster actually said that solo self on hardcore is like roguelike, right? So you have, I mean, keep some kind of progression, but like every character is like a new journey, and you can see how far you can get and what you can achieve, and then you start. And if you adopt that kind of mindset, especially if you play solo self-ons, because you don't have that incentive of, oh, this thing could be this valuable, I could buy this thing from selling that thing, right? If you just take it from solo self-on, you are self-contained, the economy, everything is self-contained, then if you adopt that mindset, it might not be, I mean, it's not bad.
I agree. You could still have a lot of fun if you have that mindset, but if you're going into the game and you start playing it because, like, with the goal of actually learning it and becoming good at it, then starting in hardcore is a bad idea. Because you'll just experience way less content. I mean, you see that with me. I could be much better at the game if I played a league or two in softcore, because I just don't encounter a lot of endgame stuff really frequently. Right? Because, a lot of my characters die prematurely. And even if I get occasional characters that go past the 95 and do a lot of stuff in the game, I still will carefully avoid doing the highest content. And even then, it's just a fraction of the characters that I could be there with. So I only learn it on, say, my Cold Dot Occultist, which is low life and has good gear. Versus, I don't know, like there's a lot of builds that would be interesting to play in endgame content, right? But I have.
Trust me, there's plenty of builds that are not like, for example, Chain Hook. Would not recommend playing in endgame. Not softcore, not hardcore, any place. Don't play it. I guess. But I've done it, and it's, it's been done. But don't.
So I made this realization: the exposure to content that I have is quite a bit lower than my expectancy was. I thought I had a lot of exposure to it, but I was chatting with Aphelion, if you guys know him. Really nice dude. Adam's a great PoE streamer, super solid. But him and I were having the conversation when he did the Harvest Gauntlet. He's like, I killed Awakener in Harvest Gauntlet. I'm like, dude, that's massive for a person who hasn't really played hardcore all that much. He's like, well, I didn't think that was that big of a deal because I've done the fight 300 plus times, maybe 400 times. And I'm like, I've done it like 14 times.
Yeah, exactly.
But also the big realization for me was actually in Gauntlet. I did Elder in Gauntlet. He actually did me at the end of the day. I died to Elder. That's how I died. But, he's obscenely tough in Gauntlet comparatively to regular League. I didn't realize how much more difficult he'd be just because almost everything he has is like physical conversion. But anyways, I realized I'm fighting him like, I thought I knew this fight pretty well. But I haven't done Elder in 2 leagues, so wait a moment.
After you did the gauntlets, going back to the normal game, it's like, wow, I'm like gliding like hot knife through butter here, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was a substantial change. I fought Weaver and I was like, wow, that was easy. This thing usually is the end game boss.
It gives me the PTSD. I ripped 3 characters in that gauntlet. Like my life and like soul went into those characters, and it's just, never again. Fuck that. Never again.
Now the question is though, Maven, what's she gonna look like in Gauntlet? Will she have projectiles? Will they be multiplied?
Probably.
This is the stuff I'm looking forward to, even more so than just the League in itself, because I know people are going to be able to kill the Maven in a reasonable amount of time in Zezarin's race. But when it comes to the Gauntlet and Maven, the sweet tears.
Alone, the multi-map boss fight in the arena alone, like you got to be very, very careful in the Gauntlet which bosses you pick for that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. Here's the other thing. Back to what you just said before, though. When it comes to the Gauntlet race, somebody who played hardcore this league is going to have killed Maven 45 times, and you're maybe going to fight it twice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find myself that in the 4 years straight that I played hardcore, I became 3 times as good of a player in the first league I played softcore. Because I would avoid things that I thought were dangerous. And now I know where my characters can and can't handle things.
Yeah,
Like,
instead of
do I still
suspecting
sometimes
that
die?
things are dangerous, you actually know
I
what's
still
dangerous
sometimes
now.
die, but I almost never die without expecting that there's a risk of it. That almost never happens anymore. I don't get surprised because I got to experiment. I got to push boundaries. I got to know what I can take and what I can't take. And I did fights with characters that were too weak for it and learned those. And then now I'm a way better player having played in softcore than I ever would have got to in hardcore because I just avoid them, where I only go in with an overtuned character. Like in hardcore, I was only doing Uber Elder on a Righteous Fire Juggernaut with 2 Combs rings. The thing can't die. It's invincible. Now I can do Uber Elder with 2.5k life and Blade Vortex. Like, it's fine. Why? Because I won't get hit because I know the fight now. Before, I would just make characters that it didn't matter if you got hit, and then I would face tank it. Because that's the way to do it in hardcore.
Yep.
So,
and it's a very valid point for the reason why, honestly, myself included, I should take a league out and go play softcore. But I get bored very easily with that for some reason.
And Zizran always does these races.
If there's no permanency to the consequences of my actions, I just lose the care for it almost, which is an intrinsically negative thing on my own accord, right? Like, that's not the game's fault or anything. That's me. That's my problem. But I just haven't found it compelling to play softcore for myself yet.
Well, I mean, maybe you don't need to do like a whole league thing. Let's say there's Maven now out. You could be like, oh, okay, I'll make a character in softcore, experience all this stuff, and then like, I know already this stuff. Okay, forget about it. I can now go a little bit more confidence in hardcore because now you know, like, at least you know how it looks like. You have some kind of idea and apply that to hardcore. Because a lot of the time, I mean, you can learn from other people's mistakes, but as we know, that doesn't really work that well most of the time. And the best way to learn is really experiencing it yourself. So in hardcore, if you want to experience, I'm not saying that you never look at other people doing it. You can look at it, but it will still be stressful as fuck. If you go inside first time, Maven, hardcore solo self-on, you're like, the nerves and yeah.
But that's the terrifying thing. That's what I love.
Yeah.
Going into that fight the first time and potentially succeeding when I haven't practiced the fight. It just, if that does happen, like the first time I killed Shaper in SSF Hardcore, Awakener, Elder, those were the greatest moments for me for gaming. I loved them, and I wouldn't trade that feeling, I don't think. I probably should. But I don't want to.
The biggest thing that made me change to softcore was content creation.
Huge. Yeah.
Because I would make builds and I would come up with my own builds, and then a bunch of people would follow them, and I wouldn't finish the build because it died. And so I'd go, okay, I'll make another one. And then it would die too. And by the time I've played 2 of them into the early 80s, I now have a good enough feel for how that build would have gone even into the mid 90s with really good gear. I now know how that would have scaled. But other people want to see it. And so then I find myself making the same character that I'm bored with now, that I don't want to play again, a third time, trying to play it extra safe so that I can get it to a point where I can showcase it to people. And then I just got really sick of doing that. And so I ended up going to softcore just so that when I die, I can keep going and I can actually make the builds and the build guides. And
you know, it's something you can also do that I can't really read chat when you feel like it. That's also amazing.
I did that always anyway. It got me killed a lot.
Yeah, I've died a few times from reading chat naturally, but if you're playing in softcore, you can engage with the community so much more. It's very, I guess, viable to look up for a moment or look to the side for just that moment. There's less of a risk for it, and you can engage with the community that way a little bit better. But that's also, one of those things where personally, yeah, I die. I made the mistake of reading chat. It's all good. We go again. But,
I find
Plus,
it's
then you
just
get to
like
blame chat for killing you, and that's content too.
Yeah.
yes.
Content they want to see also.
I find it's like an additional layer of skill to know when you can read chat and when you can come up with witty responses and when you should ignore it. Like, just similar to how forcing resync with the server when desync was still a thing was like an additional layer. That was not cool though, because that was forced upon everyone. But the thing with the chat, I do that voluntarily, right? Like, that's something a burden that I put on myself. So I kind of like that, actually. I'm never super mad at chat when I die. I'm always mad at myself.
Yeah, I've never once blamed chat for me dying. I've blamed me for reading chat.
Oh,
For
I
me, it's not so
100%
much the
blame
reading.
chat. What?
For me, it's
What?
not so much the
Never
reading,
blame
but
them.
getting into conversation.
They like being blamed. They'll take credit proudly.
We
They're
did
like,
it.
"Oh, I got the streamer killed."
Nice.
Call your mom up like, Mom, today was a good day.
Yeah.
One thing I think we haven't really touched on that I was going to mention, I guess we touched on it briefly, just the discussion of solo self-found and whatnot, and the fact that giving more options to players, making them more self-contained, is always a good thing. Atlas, with all of these Atlas passives, with the Watchstones, everything when it comes to this is just doing such a good job of fostering that, I guess, self-sustaining play, whether it's SSF, whether it's Trade League, whatever it is. That feels good.
I mean, as a player, I play basically trade all the time. I always like this kind of options. That's why Harvest was so great. Even if you were never really into crafting, it kind of, I mean, if you engage with Harvest mechanic, of course, you can always skip it. But if you engage, it was like, I mean, look what I can make, right? Look what actually I made. Instead of just buying it, finding currency, buying it, you just saved the crafts and you made something awesome. I had loads of fun in Harvest. My favorite league in recent times.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that likes trade.
Oh, I thought you were the only one who disliked Harvest.
No, I like trade. I like being able to buy if I want to. But I also like making my own things, I guess.
I think trade is only a problem, or like, at least speaking for myself, when you try to be competitive, when you have that competitive mindset or approach. Like, even if I'm not very good at it, I always try to compete in a way and always look at myself on the ladder. And I think in trade, I would feel too much like, instead of me playing the league, it would be the league playing me, because I would be following all the implications of like how to rise to wealth. Where in SSF, I always feel like I'm just playing the game. And if you can do that in trade, while just taking all the advantages of trade when you actually want to acquire something and you are able to use the shortcut, and ignore all the disadvantages where you feel like, hey, instead of farming this or that content, I could have just flipped items, or I could have done this or that sort of economic thing, or crafted that, or gambled 6 links or whatever, then I think that's great. But a lot of times when I played trade, it kind of went that way, that I just felt bad about myself not doing the obvious best strats. And for example, that's another factor, is the use of currency is often dictated by its value reflected in the economy.
Yeah.
And in SSF, you just have the currency that you use for, what its purpose is, more or less.
Burning currency to create something that you could buy for so much cheaper kind of feels bad, because there's an intrinsic, I guess, value to that currency
Yeah.
So that a good example actually for myself at least. I'm very much like Catmaster in that way. Diablo 3, I know he who must not be named. But I played Diablo 3 at release. I was one of the first like 20 people to kill Diablo in Inferno mode when it was a big deal to do so.
Wasn't it 500?
So for me though, like there was the real money auction house. Whenever I found an item, immediately I would sell it on the real money auction house because there is an actual value to this item now. And suddenly I didn't enjoy playing the game in any way, shape, or form because intrinsic to the game, there was the real money auction house. And there was no reason for me to value this item in anything but real money. And so I would simply just sell it. And I just felt like I was farming not for me. I was farming for somebody else. I know it's a bit of a different story because it's not real money in Path of Exile, but that's how I feel in a trade league to an extent as well. If I'm getting these items, I'm getting these for other people, not for me, because I'm just going to buy what I need at the end of the day with that currency.
So super interestingly, I really enjoyed Diablo 3 until they took away the real money auction house, and then I almost immediately quit.
So you're an actual trader that's what you like.
I was a farmer. I got to play the game and make money for it. It was the first time I ever got paid to play video games. And to be honest, I got paid more than I get paid now as a content creator. I was making more money on the Diablo 3 auction house than I am from streaming, YouTube, Patreon, fucking everything combined. Website. I was making more money from that auction house than this.
Maybe that's why you didn't like it when I took it away, because it was
it took away my money.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got a new job at that time. I was in university and I just started a new job, and it was a restaurant and they closed for 2 weeks for renovations. It was right in time for Diablo 3 to come out. So I just played Diablo 3, and I made more money off Diablo 3 than I would have at my job. I think I made $2,500 US in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
that was great.
Why didn't I play it?
But I hated it because I wasn't playing video games at that time for money, which I know you need the money at the end of the day. Money is very important in life. But that was my form of relaxation, and I waited 10 years for that game to come out, and it just felt empty because it was now my job rather than. But yeah. My own fault, though. At the end of the day, like, if I could separate that, great, you could separate it. I just somehow couldn't.
Yeah, I was just like, I kept the things that I wanted, and I bought the things that I wanted to make it better, and then I just made money, and I was like, I get paid to play a video game. How disgusting is this?
How long?
They took it away, and they took it away, and I played for about a week more, and then realized, like, in a snap in my brain, that I actually didn't enjoy the game at all. That it was shit. I was like, I've only been having such a good time here because I've been getting paid, and it's better than going to work. But now that I can't get paid anymore, I don't want to play.
I'd rather play an actually good game.
Yeah.
So, by the way, just a random tangent, Diablo 3 had one of the greatest bugs in history of any game. One of the biggest coding idiocracies, or just bad coding in general. Basically, if you put something on the auction house in Diablo 3, you had 10 minutes to be able to remove it off the auction house. After that 10 minutes, it would be live. You could not remove that until it was sold or until the timer ended. That timer was tied to your Windows timer, your Windows clock, not in... Yes, I see Balor's face. It wasn't tied to any clock besides your Windows clock. It wasn't tied to an external anything. So all you had to do is change your Windows clock back, or change your Windows clock forward, and the item would then be finished off the auction house or go back into your stash. So if you just rewound your Windows timer, yeah, this is for the first 2 months of Diablo 3. I'm not joking.
Auction house live? Like, how long did they have this real money auction house?
4 months?
Four to six-ish, something. It was.
Oh,
might
so
have been
not
6.
Not that long.
Yeah.
But either way, the worst coding I've ever seen off of anything was when I found that out. Oh my god, I'd be listing items and then, okay, that's not going to sell in 10 minutes. I just remove it back and then put it back up. Balor's
Okay.
like, if I knew that, I would have made so much more money.
I definitely could have made more money.
Oh,
Yeah.
but I bet lots of people made lots of money with that.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
there's
There are
all,
plenty of people making a lot more money than I did.
yeah, I mean, because there's plenty of people who are willing to buy their way into whatever they want to. You know, they have the money. Even, I mean, yeah.
The number one customer that I had actually when I sold stuff on D2 JSP were lawyers. They didn't have the time to play the game, but they had
Yep.
money. They wanted to buy
They
all
had
their
money
items.
and it wasn't against the rules.
Yep. So
RMT, the way to success.
Yeah.
I'm glad we don't have to do that in Path of Exile.
yeah,
Right?
I would rather play the game even in SSF and enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
there's plenty of things on my account that I could sell for real money, but because it's against terms of service, there's no way I'm ever going to do that. And so they have this nice little value to me. Like, I have 2 mirrors in solo self-found hardcore. I have
What?
Yeah,
How did you drop them?
2 mirrors. Yeah, one in
No, he
Bestiary
traded for them
Flashback.
in solo self-found.
Sorry?
No, but like maybe he farmed the cards or
The shards.
Cards, yeah. Did you
Yeah,
just
and-
drop 2 meters?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing for 7 years, right? So,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I play a lot. But I've dropped 2 in total. I have like a couple of demis, things like that, but they have value to me. That's like my little reward.
Yeah, I got the same thing. Like, are they worth real life money? Probably. Am I going to sell them? No. Like, what am I risking? My whole account? No, thank you.
Right?
I've spent thousands of dollars on that PoE account. more than anyone reasonably should have ever. That is too much. No, that's not worth it.
But keep in mind also content.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. I just saw the Harvest Garden fly back. How happy are you guys with the implementation of Harvest? Something I definitely want to talk about. I mean, obviously we don't know the real important details, which is the weighting of what mods we can get.
I need more information.
For sure.
I mean, I'm excited in general, but depends on what kind of mods are even gonna be available. Because I'm sure they will have removed some of the more OP ones. And but I'm excited most about changing resistances. Please, that's all I need in my life. Just give me change resistance.
Yeah, please.
I will be happy. That one will be.
Even without all of the actual harvest crafting portions of creating this obscenely almost mirror tier rare item, one of the things I miss most from Harvest is just any of the ones that change X to X or X to Y, pardon. Fragments, essences, emblem,
Daily missions.
Yeah, daily
resistances, dailies. Oh my god, those were amazing. And even if that's more at the forefront than the creating a mirror tier item, I'm still going to be happy with the implementation of Harvest. And also, they got rid of the garden.
Gambling cards is fun.
Oh yeah, that was so much fun.
I lost a lot of money on that. I never made a profit, but I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Well, that was the dream in SSF though, because you'd find like the White Knight or something. And you're like, oh my god, I have 1 White Knight card. There's no way I'm finishing off a set. But I'm gambling the hell out of this.
A doctor has dropped on the floor. Can I turn it into a headhunter? Let's go.
I forgot which streamer it was who did that in SSF within about 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
They just gambled their doctor, got another one, gambled the doctors, and ended up having a headhunter in like a back-to-back gambling spree.
Damn, that's so lucky because I had 1 headhunter card and I lost it. So sad.
Oh, it was Lighty. That's who it was.
I repetitively bought headhunter cards and gambled them away to nothing.
But how much fun did you have though?
Tons of fun.
Yep.
I think I spent like 200 or 300 exalts over the course of the league, just gambling on cards that never turned out to anything. Just pissed it all down the drain, but it was fun.
Plus, now we only get one horticrafting station with 10, 10 things you can save. So it's not like...
It sounds a lot more healthy.
Yeah, you can't... It's not like you're going to be saving like hundreds and hundreds of crafts to store forever.
It
Put 'em in your
sounds
stash.
significantly less
Just
healthy.
search them.
If it is all to remain the same, just in the world that all of the crafts we had still exist, what they've done by limiting me to 10 is backed me into a corner of using TFT servers to sell them actively all the time, constantly, instead of just selling once every few days when I feel like it. They've forced me to sell and buy constantly throughout the day, all day, every day. Otherwise, I'll fill up my spots and lose money.
Well, that would imply that the more desirable crafts are going to be very common, or like more common, like decently common. I don't think they're going to be very common at all. Like the
Even change fire to cold is worth like 40 cows.
Oh, well, that's true.
Everything's worth money.
It's
The shittiest crafts
potentially worth
I
more
use
if it's
Trade
less
League.
frequent.
I don't even think, even though I play Trade League, I don't even think, I'm like thinking, oh, will I be able to use that? If not, delete, next one. I don't even think about, I mean, I barely even sold anything during the Harvest League in the TFT. I had loads of crafts. I had like some sick crafts, like add influence modifiers, and they are still there in standard because I couldn't be bothered.
I sold and bought a ton. A ton.
Just look at me and Catmaster and just shrugs in SSF.
Yeah.
Like, if I could just quickly add my perspective, when Harvest was announced, the whole premise of Harvest League was that there's going to be these insanely powerful mods, and that the downside of getting these powerful mods is that you have to use them instantly and you can't store them away for later. And then they caved in when they said, that we will be able to store like a handful of them, but it will be a very end game thing, is literally what Chris said. And it became this fiesta of having several quad tabs full of Hordy crafting benches with hundreds of mods stored, ready for use and sale. And that's just a situation that I wouldn't want to go back to, because I understand that they want to give people what they want. So yeah,
that's a significantly better situation than the original plan, though. Because the original plan results in the right action to be having 20 to 30 different decent pieces of gear sitting in your stash and having the knowledge to craft all of them, so that every time you get a craft, you've got something profitable to use it on. So the only options are either you have many, many stash tabs full of different gear that you personally know how to craft, or you have stash tabs full of crafts that you can sell to players that are more interested in those specific ones, and you can take the ones that you're interested in. Those are the two ways to do it. Either force me to learn everything and keep all the gear for all different kinds of builds, or let me focus on the ones I want and then train away the ones I don't.
The beauty of Harvest was its low barrier of entry for crafting for a lot of players. And if they had kept it at the former, like they had originally intended, it's exactly how Balor said it, I think, and it would have been very difficult for the majority of players to get a grasp on how harvest crafting really worked to their advantage. The latter was too far in the opposite direction, right? There's a middle ground that needs to be reached, I think, that we'll see how they implement it as far as which crafts are readily available. And one big thing, if they lower the gap, like the level gap, because 10 levels above means you can get so many influence mods off just before, at least, when farming quarry, right? That 10 level gap is, I think, too big. Maybe reduced to 5 or something. Anyways, that's another whole thing.
Harvest will only spawn in maps.
Yep.
So, I mean,
solves a lot of that.
Yeah,
but that means you could be farming like T6 maps and be getting stuff to craft onto eye level 84 bases, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, probably. I think it will probably will stay the same. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hope they change that a little bit. Just because we need that middle ground between the two that Balor mentioned, right? And that way also it's not just this fiesta like Catmaster mentioned too. Something to bridge that.
I think
I spent
storing
a
10
long
crafts would be
time.
fun.
I spent a long time before Harvest League preparing myself a list of different base pieces of gear that I would need to try and cover all aspects of crafting. And I'm feeling a little lucky that I didn't delete that list.
Damn.
Because as Harvest gets added in its base core now, having that list and organizing it'll take me 6 stash tabs full of influence gear. But since I've done all the research and I know how to craft them all, I will be able to craft as I go on profitable pieces to sell. What the new system has done, provided they haven't taken away a bunch of crafts, is it's made the people with the top 0.1% of crafting knowledge infinitely richer than everyone else. They've widened the gap by a substantial margin because they're not letting you sell them. In the past, if you didn't know what you were doing, you could sell them to me and I would pay a good price for them. And then you'd make money and I'd make money. Now you only get 10 of them. You're going to waste a whole bunch of them. You're not going to do any of them. I'm not going to waste any because I've got way too much knowledge in the back of my head. So I'm going to make way, way, way more money. And that's not something I can teach people to do either, which bothers me. Because teaching people how to do that much level of crafting would be thousands of hours. And that's not something that I can do. So it's not even a teachable skill. People have to learn that on their own. And it's thousands of hours of learning. And having a cap of 10 has just made that gap huge.
Well, for example, in Harvest League, if I did a build and I crafted my own gear, I did write recipes for them. So if people wanted to craft their own, so I think for more profitable things that are available, so I don't know, whatever meta is, and there are some profitable things you could craft with Harvest. Granted, if we assume that all the crafts still stay the same, right? You will still be available. Mm-hmm. You could write recipes for items so you need these kind of steps, and you need these kind of crafts, and you need to get to these breakpoints to continue on, and you will eventually arrive to this point of getting this gear. I mean, so depending on what level of play people are, whether they farm a lot or they don't farm a lot, they can buy this thing, they farm by themselves, they will reach this goal in some fashion, but at least they know the steps that they have to go through. So with Harvest Crafting, you can write recipes for items like double influence with such and such, and so on and so forth. And I did that but it was so much easier when you had all the quarter crafting stations in the world. You could save a bunch of add remove fire until you hit the right one, or you hit tier 1 and move on, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it will be harder, but I think Harvest Crafting is very easy way to teach people some sense of how to approach crafting with recipes.
Yeah.
That's true. I do think that Harvest Crafting did do a good job incentivizing people to learn how item mod categories work and item levels and all that sort of stuff. People were way more interested in finding that out because Harvest got them into it. So, yeah. And also it's a community favorite. I mean, I personally didn't care too much for Harvest's return. Outside of that, obviously it makes the game a little bit easier for me. It makes gear that normally is unobtainable in SSF a little bit more realistic to work towards, even though, at a much lower frequency now, it will be at a much lower rate, but you still can expect to make an insane helmet or an insane shield over the course of many harvests eventually. Yeah. But I wouldn't have wanted it back necessarily, but I'm not opposed to it, and I think it's great that people are getting what they want. And we'll just have to find out how close storing 10 crafts is to the middle ground that Tryxt says. But we'll have to find. I mean, they can easily adjust that number, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
I really liked my plan for fixing Harvest more than what they did. wanted to completely get rid of ad removes. Either get rid of add or get rid of remove. You can't have both versions. You can have add a fire, but you should only get one chance at it. Right? It's just add removing allows you to it's just deterministic. You will print this eventually to a tier 1 fire res and then you move on with your life, right? And I don't like the deterministic stuff. And then I also wanted to make it so that whatever you did costs that currency. So yes, I could slam add fire, but it would cost me an exalt.
I mean,
guarantees the fire mod, but cost me the same currency it would have.
Seeing that we don't know exactly how those mods are going to return and if they're going to return, I did see something here. I don't know whether you guys know more than I do here. Wait a moment. They showed some crafts. Where are they? Where are the crafts? Where it said that you could allows you to enhance specialized currency a certain way when harvested.
So that was like infused engineering orbs and things like that.
Oh, okay. But theoretically they could allow you to infuse exalts and annuls, right?
Yeah, but that mod already exists. That's how you got infused.
Okay, yeah. Then it's not new.
Yeah.
For some reason I forgot about that one. Cool.
Well, the thing with what made Harvest at the beginning very great for leveling was that it was so cheap to make some really great leveling gear. So now if you would like rerolls are chaos. When you're like just leveling through the zones, you don't have. I mean, you get up to maps like you would have some chaos, but you wouldn't even incentivize to play Harvest because, especially if you're in Trade League, you get more out of your chaos by buying the item outright than trying to craft something by costing chaos. You could stumble upon something great, but it would be so unlikely because you know how many mods there are that I don't know. I wouldn't like that. I mean, I like the idea of like removing, maybe to make it so much harder is just remove or add one of those. That's cool. My theory was that because Oshabi is still going to be in the game, right? But what is she going to really give? She doesn't drop flowers anymore because they don't serve a purpose.
That's the only reason you killed her.
Yeah, exactly. So what if you had a chance to get like some kind of thingamajiggy that enhances your horticrafting station that gives you 1 extra slot, for example?
That'd be cool.
So instead of 10 slots, you would have a 10% chance from her to drop +1 slots, you get 11 slots. That would be super cool. That would incentivize you to actually kill Shabi because at this point the uniques are kind of like whatever, and anything else she doesn't drop anything else.
So we killed her for buds and flowers. They were worth tons.
Exactly. So now there's no point in killing her. But if they had something like that, I would kill her. Everybody would kill her.
It's a really good point.
That would be a great addition to the Oshabi fight because honestly, I am not going to do her once at this point.
I mean, obviously I am, but I'm not going to be excited about it because nothing good can happen in there.
Like, I will kill her because, I mean, she's there. But, like, any of the uniques she dropped, I don't think I got excited for any of them. I mean, I got excited because it's something new that dropped, but after that's like, I can't sell it. I'm not going to keep it because nobody's going to buy it even for an alk, so what's the point? Leave it on the ground. Sell it for alk shards. Fun times.
So I shouldn't say I'm not going to fight her. I'm not going to hunt her, though. Like, I'm not going to use one of those passive points to get increased chance of finding Oshabi because...
No? Oh, wait, is there a passive point that makes you have a higher chance to find Oshabi?
Yeah, 100% increased chance of finding Oshabi.
Yeah.
So if it's like 0.2%, it goes to 0.4% or whatever it is, but you know.
Oh, there. I mean, okay.
Or Heart of the Grove, it says. Like Heart of the Grove.
Heart of the Grove is good because that's where you get the craft. So that's good.
Yeah, that's the Oshabi fight though, isn't it?
Oh,
Heart
is
of the
it?
Grove?
Yeah, Heart of the Grove is
okay.
When you've done 100 things.
Yeah, that's no.
Through
like
the Heart of the Grove.
I mean, that shows me that maybe there is some kind of incentive to kill her but if it's for the uniques, like, come on, no way. There has to be some new drop. Has to be. No, but
GGG tends to bring in old mechanics and just like leave it as it is.
Yeah, but then why would you choose to kill her twice? As much, as often, find her twice as often. Like, doesn't make any sense.
Because bad options have to exist for good options to be appealing?
I guess. It doesn't make any sense.
That's what makes sense to me in the passive tree there.
But yeah,
I should
write that my idea to GGG so maybe they can implement it. That would be so cool. Even if it was very rare, if you find that extra slot, it would be so big. So big.
That would be nice
too. That's the new baseline then. But yeah, I hope they do incentivize the fight in some way when it's now less desirable to do, when these flowers don't exist anymore.
Okay, well, so now we go to Heist being core.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that? We kind of touched upon it.
I know how to set up mass sale tabs.
Yeah, that's what you said. You said that you're just gonna not do it.
Yep.
Are you guys interested in grand heists at least? Like the grand heist rewards?
I always like the feeling of the grand heists. Like I just like the loot. I mean, if you're in trade, then obviously you can just bypass the heisting and buy whatever you want. But for me, from an SSF perspective, if I'm going to play SSF HC, I might be tempted to go softcore trade because I don't have the time. I'm going to move apartments by the end of the month, so I don't have the time to really compete that hard. But I might just play HC SSF for the first week or two and then move to softcore. But what did I want to say? Heist. I love them in HC SSF because you can get some pretty good stuff there. It feels so good.
I mean, I love grand heists. I love the rewards you choose. I mean, they're not, like, sometimes they're not very good, but like if you find something good, feels really good. And I don't mind heists. Yeah, but I will still do heists, especially because it's gonna be rare. It's gonna be much nicer break from it. Then like now you got so many heists all the time that you could basically, at this point, I could be doing for a month straight. Well, no, I exaggerate maybe, but like could be doing 2 weeks straight heist or grand heist, nothing else, and not even maps.
I quit 6 weeks ago in heist, and I filled up the heist tab. It's full every tab, and I have 4 quad tabs full, plus a part of another one.
God.
It's just crazy. You got so many heists. It was a bit too much.
And I've been selling them in bulk. That's just what's left. Because I find an average of 20 heists a map.
Well, you run some kind of juiced up maps, I suppose.
Well, yeah, they're like fractured maps and 100% delirious and stuff like that. But like you run one map, you get 20, 25 heists. Like, what the fuck am I going to do with that? Like, that's way too many heists.
Yeah. So I felt like it was. It was fine during the heist league, but I think in when we play next league, Ritual League, it's gonna be like a nice break. You get gather a little bit of currency to roll your maps. Your chisels. Maybe you get a grand heist, get some kind of alt quality gem. Boom, you sell it for shit ton of money.
It might be like Blight. Like I hated Blights in map.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
During the entire Blight League, I was like, this is fucking garbage. Why am I waiting here? This is horrible. I hate it. But now I see a Blight in a map and I'm happy to do it because they're not in every map. Because I see one every 10 maps. I'm like, oh, I'll stop for a Blight and get some oils. That's fine. Maybe Heist will be like that. Maybe I'll be okay with it when it's not like shoved down my throat 22 times a map.
Yeah.
Maybe
you have time enough to start looking forward to it.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be okay in smaller
heist detox. Yeah, heist detox in League you had.
I noticed this also during the Flashback League. Also, that cup is just so good. But I noticed it a bit more during Flashback League as well, because so many extra mechanics, right? You suddenly get blights in every single one of your maps, or every one for that hour, or you get Legion or whatnot. But I wouldn't really get a lot of the stuff from the league I was looking to get it from the league mechanic. I'd get it from heists because it's so much more readily available. And I have a feeling that that's going to be the case as well when it comes to Ritual. maybe you can get alternate quality gems from Ritual as well now. Maybe that might be a thing, which I hope it is, because I don't want to have to do blueprints all the time to be able to achieve that goal, because I didn't like doing heist. But I also find that it's a little bit of a problem that I am not engaging within the league mechanic in its own. I'm engaging with, in that league mechanic. I'm engaging in the current league mechanic to get everything from that league. And I get that's giving me options. That's giving me the availability to play that league's mechanic if I would like to. I'm not going to, because it's more efficient to play it just by doing the current league mechanic. And that seems to be a thing that GGG tends to do. Like, do you get incursion armor ever from incursion?
I haven't run a temple in like 3 leagues.
Right? Why would you?
I mean, no.
Sometimes I run Alva for Delirious maps, but I never look at what rooms are getting upgraded anymore. I never care. And when the temple's full, I just open it in my hideout and then launch my next map and go in it.
But
I never run temples.
You never even try for the corruption room?
I don't care.
I've made headhunters in Sacrifice Room. I even made 2 in the same league, back to back.
Me too.
I never get. It's always a sunblast. I hate you so much for these 2 headhunters.
I've done that too, and I've had successful double corrupts and all that sort of stuff. But when you're running like Delirious maps and fracturing them and things like that, you make half a headhunter per map. It's not worth the extra 25 minutes it would have taken me total to like build the temple properly and then run it. It's just not worth my time.
Well, I'm super casual in that sense. I'm like, oh yeah, let's get the crafting room, let's go. And I don't, you know how I play my maps? I alk and chisel them. That's it. Sextants, can't be bothered. Delirious characters, probably pretty shit to run 100 Delirious. Can't be bothered. What other, like, what are scarabs? Maybe I'll throw a scarab on there.
Here's the big key for what would make temples better. If when I was done, she gave me a map to launch for my temple, then I would care, because I would just collect temples over a few days, and then I would run 6 or 8 temples.
Ooh,
and that would be cool. When you force me to run the content, that when I'm busy doing other shit, that it gets skipped. I'm busy running my scarab maps right now. I'm enjoying this. I want to get it all done so I can put it all on the market. I like this. I'm in the middle of my thing. I don't give a fuck about the temple. So I just skip it.
Yeah.
If they didn't force me to do it then I would care.
That's pretty cool.
The technology's there. It would be like a blueprint almost, right? Like a blueprint of that temple.
Yep.
That would be
even
really
if they
cool.
made it account bound, I'd be okay with it. Like I would run them if they didn't force me to do it right then. But they forced me to do it right then, and I'm not interested because I've got a groove on. I'm doing my thing.
That
I just ignore it.
It could also, let's say you get full sulfite and you're like, okay, I don't want to run it now. How about you can do like, pay like 10, I don't know, have like a fee of azurite, but then you make like a sulfite chest that gives you like the full amount of sulfite. Full. Oh, that would be so cool. So you could be like, store chests inside that whatever, where Nico is. That would be cool.
I don't understand the need for there to be a sulfite capital.
Well, they want to limit you in some way,
Why?
I guess.
Yeah, they have. I still have to collect the sulfite. It's not infinite. Why does there have to be a cap?
Because you got to spend your azurite on something, right?
Has to be a reason for it.
It's got to be a money
prices
sink.
of the other things that matter.
Yep, I'd agree.
Would be cool if there wasn't a sulfite cap. That's true.
Why does there have to be? What's one good argument for a sulfite cap?
I know. Delve too, I don't know. Too profitable? I don't know. What's the reason? What is the reason?
It's the same amount of delving. Like, removing the cap doesn't mean you can delve more. It just means you get to delve on your own schedule. It just means if you happen to find it 3 times in a row, you're not forced to go to delve now or lose out. You just get to do it later when you want. And that's all that changes. There's no good reason for a cap.
I don't get upset very often. I'm a fairly calm person, but there was a thread on Reddit that just bugged the living hell out of me. When the Endless Delve race happened, at the very beginning of the Endless Delve race, the very, very first day of it, there was a post that was the top post on the subreddit that had stated, basically in a very smarmy, rude way, that CGGG, you're wrong. Stop gating content behind some sort of resource. We should be allowed to endlessly delve whenever we please.
Oh, no.
Right. And it just made me like a hand on my head, just like shaking my head. It was the most obscene, silly thing because frankly, it was one day of endless delve. We had like 4 hours in. It was like, yes, I want this forever. I can tell already that I want this forever. Also, I don't want to have to ever pay to be able to get some sort of return. Why would I have to ever pay for that? It was just this smarmy, rude response. And I absolutely hated everyone involved in this. As for removing a sulfite cap, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You
But
still have to
the
sulfite.
Yeah.
You still have to find Nico and collect it all. I just don't want to be forced into doing it, especially day one. I end up having to go delving like 5 times on day one because I'm forced to, because my cap gets reached and I haven't raised the cap enough. And I don't want to. I'm busy doing the Atlas thing. But I do want to delve, but you're just getting in the way of me setting up my Atlas right now, which is what I want to be doing. I want to delve later. Stop making me do stuff.
Plus, the cap is so small that you only ever get to experience a little bit of delve before you run out, and you have to go back, and it's just like very rapid not rapid, but like often interruptions, because you haven't gotten to that point where if you have 60k juice, you can delve fair amount of time if you do it like, let's say, just to farm fossils, right? You can delve, but
I even find that to be about a quarter of what I would want. I would want somewhere around 200k, and that would give me enough time in delve for that to be a good grinding session for me. That's where somewhere around 200, 250. That's where I would personally, if there was no cap, I would get to somewhere around 200, 250-ish, and then I would go delving for a while. Because I like to do the same content for a while. I don't want to do a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of that and a bit of that. And some people do, and that's fine, but I don't want to. It's the same problem I have with Alpha. I want to just run my maps for a while, and if I could save the Alvas, I would run them for a whole day once every 2 or 3 weeks. I want to not delve for 4 days straight, but then I want to spend Friday just delving the whole day, 18 hours of it. Let's go. And that would be fun to me. I like that. So yeah, I'm not sure why it's capped.
So the only reason in flashback why I started delving was because I realized through heisting, I had 30 of each fossil, which is more than I'd have from delving, but I had 1 of each resonator. And therefore, I started delving at level 98 or something like that.
Yeah, I know that too.
And then buying resonators.
Right? I had more delirium orbs from heisting than I ever had in Delirium League. Like, so many more. And actually, how heist started, it was, we know how it started. Then they removed the loot was pretty good, but there was the alert, right? They removed the alert, the loot stayed good, and you were dropping even more delirium orbs. And then they brought it back, they made the big chest, blah, 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 rah, rah, rah. But I got, in the first week of heist, I got so many delirium orbs. I of course I didn't use them, but it's just so many. And I was like, how can I have in 1 week of heist have more delirium orbs than I had in whole Delirium League? That's crazy. It's crazy. It's mental. Like, either Delirium didn't drop enough of them, or this shit is so overtuned, and I don't know what to do with it, because it's the first week of the heist, and my character's like scuffy, and yeah.
Jesus, that mug.
It's nice and small.
What?
It's normal.
Larger than your head.
No, I'm just very tiny. It's a normal mug. I promise.
16
very small
straight shot espresso.
Yeah.
I need to get a mug that big, but with a picture of my face on it.
Yeah. Right.
Facing it towards the camera is just slightly terrifying. I'm just going to throw that out there.
It's not faced towards the camera, it's repeating. It doesn't matter what way you hold it.
Yep.
Everyone gets to see it.
I've been sidetracked by chat, so to quickly make sure and to prove to myself and the audience that I did listen, in fact, to what you were talking, let me quickly sum up, because there was two separate issues that you brought up, and that was the one that the loot specificity is getting lost by GGG shoving league-specific rewards into whatever league mechanic is currently most present, like in the given league, right? Like Heist gave you a lot of league-specific reward. And that's not the main problem, is that you get league-specific rewards from that, but that it's more
rewarding.
That it's better to get the league-specific reward from Heist rather than the specific league. I mean, Incursion life chests are always a good example, I feel. You get so many more from other stuff rather than Incursion temples.
Legion
may be
battles
connected
also,
to the fact that if you don't run the Incursion temples, obviously you're not getting life chests from the Incursion temple.
Yeah.
So Legion was also a big thing. I realized during the Gauntlet race, because I was playing Bonk / Earth Shatter / OP champion, right? What I needed for that build was a Koya to be able to get the Berserk thingy to reduce damage taken. So in order for me to be able to do that, I tried to run as much Legion as I possibly could. I set up my board as well for June missions so that I could actually have Vagan in... well, actually, I kept rotating Vagan, and then eventually I got him in Intervention. I kept him in Intervention for all the Scarabs. I utilized the hell out of those. I did every single thing I could to get Splinters and get to multiple four-way battles in order to try and get that. I got through 2. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the Jewel, but the majority of them, of those Splinters, were gotten from doing Demolition with Vendiri having double chance to get Splinters, or like chance to double those Splinters. Stacked that as much as I possibly could and went through Heist in Demolition to be able to get most of my Splinters. Once I ran out of contracts for that, I was handcuffed to the chance of luckily getting a Legion spawn. If I got a lucky Legion spawn, I get 6 Splinters. If I had a Demolition, I'd get 30 to 40.
Yeah.
At least.
But I mean, they've done loot explosions is the way to incentivize people to do the league. So they kind of want you to get stuck into the league mechanic, the new league mechanic, as much as possible. And so, I don't know how. I mean, from the loot tables, I mean, they did show us a headhunter, and they did show us that you could get higher stacks of currency, even like exalts. So how common is that? I don't know, but I mean, I know why they showed it, that to show that you could get these things. But like for example, from the announcement page, right? The loot table is like, whatever. It's whatever. From the announcement page, earn ritual rewards, right? It's like there's nothing super interesting there. So I wonder how people are gonna feel about loot, because if they try to tune it down, because Heist was so fucking valuable. Also, especially if people ran the Fracture heists, Grand heists, people are printing mirrors. Actually, they were printing mirrors. Let's be honest, with running Fracture heist. Ritually, in comparison, is gonna be like super stale.
If you were doing it the right way, you walk out of every single Grand Heist that you fracture with at least 10 raw exalts in your inventory, not counting the profit you've made from other things, literally 10 exalts in your inventory per thing. The fracture fossil cost you 3. So that's a 7x profit per map in raw exalts only, not counting anything else.
Yeah, that's so
Catmaster
crazy.
and I are playing different video games, aren't we?
Well, I am also playing the same video game because I never did.
I saw that stuff.
But I'm just saying that people are used, like some people, not all people, of course. Even if you didn't do that stuff, Heist was still madly profitable. Even if you were just running Heist themselves, you could be dropping so much currency, like chisels, chaos orbs, and if you got some nice trinket, right? I dropped myself. I found one regal to exalt trinket. I'm sure I found some exalts like that. But
Nice.
you do see more exalted drops, even if you just ran heists. You didn't have to do any mad strats to get currency. It was crazy.
Not only that, this is the first league I've ever turned off chisels on my filter.
I didn't
Chisels
do
actually
it.
weren't worth picking up.
Yeah.
I could buy 60 chisels for a chaos.
Yeah, it's insane.
I just stopped picking them up. Alterations were worth 3 times as much as chisels.
Augments were worth almost as much as a chisel. Augments.
Yeah.
No, alterations weren't they worth way more than that? One alt was like 3 alts or 4 alts were 1 chaos, no?
Yeah, it was like
that.
4 to 1. It was like 4 to 1, and I was chisels was 60 to 1. And you were like, and the people got angry at me that because there's like 1,200 people or something that follow my filter. I turned off chisels, and for like 3 days, people were like, "Excuse me, why did you turn off chisels? Why did you turn off?" I ended up having to take a screenshot of the currency exchange rate and put it under a command so that I could tell you. Because I was like, they're not worth anything. And I don't blame them, because like, who the fuck turns off chisels? Like,
Exactly.
I've never done that before.
Well,
but there were too many.
Yeah, in that sense, like if you look at the screenshots or screen grabs of the ritual rewards, they don't really like jump out to you as being super special. Or so I feel like people are gonna fucking complain about that, and then they're gonna overtune it, and like we've seen previously with Delirium. What happened with Delirium? So
we're also forgetting about the maps that are. We're going to get more drops just from having larger pack size from having rituals, right? I'm assuming those rituals, those mobs still drop items.
No
items whatsoever.
Well, at least it didn't show. I'm not 100%. But from the trailer, it didn't look like they were dropping anything. It was just like you killed them, the blood got sucked into the rod, and then you saw the loot you could choose.
I couldn't foresee him doing that, just because reason being is map drops will then become even rarer than they are currently. Because last league, I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, but map drops were a lot more uncommon comparatively to previous leagues where we had more pack size, we had more things within the map itself, right?
It was fantastic.
I know a lot of people like that, and I know a lot of people don't. I think there's a bit of a dichotomy between the two factions when it comes to that. But with more mobs added into the league, and there not being the heist league mechanic readily available, which is what you're getting a lot of your maps from if you actually engage within heist, then we'd be losing out on a lot of potential map drops. And I know Balor views it the other way. I personally don't like being gated behind not receiving map drops. If I juice my map, I want some maps back, and I want to be able to run those maps. I feel like the difficulty from a map should be intrinsic to the map, not intrinsic to the fact that I can't find the map. But I feel like that would be problematic with Ritual if they didn't drop random items.
100% on that.
Well, you could get maps as a reward from the thing, right?
Yeah.
True.
Depends on like how the costs are balanced. Obviously, you don't want the map to compete with your Headhunter deferral, but if you can afford both, then you'd probably get a map.
Very true. If they make them cheap in the Ritual mechanic, I think that would suffice.
Yeah.
I like it when maps are a little harder to maintain. I like it when you have to invest, when you have to chisel, when you have to spend sextants.
Well,
I like that.
From the SSF perspective, it makes it near impossible for I guess most regular players aren't playing SSF, but it makes it difficult to actually maintain map drops versus the way that you're playing with a lot of Delirium, and you're not going to have the fractured availability probably this league, maybe, who knows? But it's
probably not
very easy for you to retain those maps.
You can
In fact, you probably took them off your filter too, unless they were like the same tier.
Oh, no, anything below tier 14 doesn't show up.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty casual player in that sense. I just Alk and chisel all my red maps, and I always sustain. So I don't do anything special. So I don't think, even in Heist League, I didn't have any problems with that. So I don't know. I assume in solo self-found, especially you're playing hardcore, you wouldn't like wanna alk too soon, because I start alking with yellow maps and then chiseling and alking red maps. And
I generally start alking as soon as I have alks.
Yeah.
Like if I get to maps when I've got 20 alks for some reason, I'll start alking my tier 1 maps. I'm fine.
In hardcore, would you alk? I mean, there's so many mods you don't want to do, so you have to invest.
You definitely want to invest. Like, you definitely want to use the juice that you have available, like your master missions. And I'm not sure about alks because those are pretty rare early on, and you also need them for early resist crafts, right? Before you have the highest tier of resists.
And I think for map purchases from Xana as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I think League start in hardcore, I probably wouldn't, and I don't think I did alk them to begin with.
It's also part of picking your build, though, in hardcore, right? You want to be able to pick a build that can run the majority of the map mods that you'll encounter, so you don't have to continuously re-roll, which is why ED Contagion has always been in favor for so very long, because it's a chaos dot build. You don't have to worry about any sort of reflect whatsoever. Heck, even if you're just running a mana flask, you can run no regen maps if you wanted to, because Trickster allows you to get that recovery back since it's not a regen.
Yep.
Yeah, good point.
Why choosing accordingly for your very first character is quite important as well, right? I personally, I juice my maps when I get to like tier 6. I start alking them. I want completion in that zone. I also want, greater pack size and whatnot.
That makes sense with the system that we have. Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe they do drop. Maybe they just didn't show it for the clarity for the video, as the same as they showcased the tile sets. They didn't want any clutter there to, take away from what is actually happening, the ritual arena and with the monsters spawning. Maybe that's why they didn't add the loot. Maybe it does drop loot, but then you just get extra from that ritual rod sacrifice sucker upper thingy.
I mean, it's safe to assume that there will be some maps that you can get as reward directly. I'm not sure about the drops. People have pointed out in chat that there will be drops and that you could even see it in the video. But I do know for sure that there is a map reward type. There was in Heist, right? There was in Delirium. So there will also be map rewards, very likely in Ritual, because it will follow the same sort of reward structure. But in an interesting way, you'll be able to see all the loot unfiltered. So on the one hand, a lot of people will not like that they have to go through all the trash loot that they could potentially pick. But on the other hand, it's also, they can make the league as rewarding as they want it to be, and no one will perceive it as less rewarding or more rewarding depending on how their loot filter works, right? That's also a good
buy
thing.
A loot filter for vendor window.
Yeah.
The whole point of my loot filter is that I'm incapable of reading.
What if
I do everything based on color.
Apply to it. Yeah. You never know.
Yeah. And yes,
so this way you can just see if it has a little number icon there, and that's currency, and just yoink.
Have a glance over it for a call to the Brotherhood or a headhunter, and then otherwise look for currency.
Chat just pointed out that the ritual rewards shown on screen are supposed to be a map or include maps, but there is a Harbinger map, like a beachhead, and there's a Atziri's temple thing. What is it called? The treasure
Atziri?
Vaults of Atziri, thanks. Mm-hmm. And the other one is a blighted map, so these are just unique and a blight map.
Special maps, yeah.
Yeah, they're not necessarily normal maps.
I do like that, though. Having the ability of getting a blighted map within this kind of mechanic is very, very cool.
Yeah, you get so much out of a blighted map. Or you can get so much out of it. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
They feel great. We've been going for a whole long time. I wish we had time to go over the Ascendancies once more, because we only briefly mentioned them, but I think we covered a lot of ground, and I don't want to... I want to end it on a high note before we all pass out from too much podcasting. Is there any closing thoughts that you guys want to mention before we go into a round of self-promotion and shout-outs and greeting your family and all that stuff?
Hi, Mom, I'm on TV.
Yeah, I wanted to say the same thing. Look at me.
I want to ask one question. And I don't even want to ask it, but it keeps getting asked in chat, and you've all been asked it 1,000,000 times before. And if I don't ask it, it'll just be in the comments on YouTube. So we'll ask it. Provided that nothing gets nerfed, does everybody know what they want to start League as? Anything could change with patch notes on Wednesday, but for now, What do you want to start as?
I want, and I will start. Because
Absolutely.
the Ascendancies got changed, right? So Elementalist looks super damn hot. I want to go with Elemental Hit Bow Elementalist with probably EE and Trinity support.
I'm a fan. Nice. Nice.
Yep, sounds good. Personally, I want to do Champ Earth Shatter, or I do not think Bonk is gonna make it. There's no way. There is no way, and it shouldn't either. But I think Champion
it's
Earth.
literally the only way melee works right now.
True, but I'm hoping with the 40 skill changes and whatnot, this is just me being naive, I guess, and hopeful. My soul hasn't been crushed enough times yet. But yeah, Champion Earthshatter or Bonk would be a lot of fun to start. I absolutely love playing that in Gauntlet and played that once in another league as well, and it's such a fun build.
Yep.
Otherwise, Necro DD if they don't kill that too.
Damn, you really have a lot riding on like the most things that could get nerfed. So.
Oh yeah, but that's why I'm okay with waiting for patch notes. I have no allegiance to any build right now, and when those patch notes come out, that's when I'll start actually getting attached to something.
My current plan is golems, or if that gets nerfed, specters. But both of those are pretty high up on the list of my hit the chopping block. So who knows what the hell I'm going to run if they both hit the chopping block. Maybe Toxic Rain Caustic Arrow?
Oh, that's an evergreen.
Just choose
No pun
something
intended.
new and fun. Just play that water orb thing.
No, you don't. My league start build has to be something good, powerful, and proven that can do tier 16 maps on a 4-link on day 1. That's the power I need.
That's tall order, I guess, for a
Necro
water orb.
DD pretty good.
It's
For that.
definitely more power than what my starter has. And I recently played Stormbrand Inquisitor, and I found Stormbrand to still be really, really nice. I wasn't super happy with how spammy the playstyle is, obviously versus the old convenient brand recalling through the entire map. But the clear is still fairly good, and then when you get to the boss, between the nerf of the beams from the Stormbrand, which make the clear feel worse than before, and the buff of blue packs and rares, which also make the clears feel worse, you all of a sudden you get into the boss and your damage is like 5 times as much as you expect. Like you obliterate the bosses. That's how it feels like. Obviously, it's just having a much harder time when clearing, and it needs more investment to feel good while clearing. But when you're at that investment where it does feel good while clearing, it's a decent bosser for how well it clears. Really was very happy with that. And if you fight multiple bosses at once, obviously Stormbrand with the chaining is at an advantage versus a single target, like actual single target. So I think it will do really well. You just put out your brands and you run circles. And yeah, it's a little bit like a damage over time build almost, where you just put on your damage and then you run circles and everything ticks down. I really like that. So I'm gonna give that a shot, assuming that nothing changes, but fingers crossed. Obviously, we're still praying for the late Christmas miracle. I mean, it was supposed to be a Christmas league, so Christmas miracle, make Frostblades good, and then that's gonna be the league start.
Again, revert Sunder. No, kidding.
Another quick question: Has anyone did anyone say anywhere from at which point Harvest returns? Like, is it going to be in maps? Only in maps, okay. Yeah, because then that thing that was said earlier that maybe you'd have to pay the currency for specific crafts, like pay an Exalt for add and pay an Annul for remove, then that wouldn't be so bad. But if it was available during leveling, it would be pretty bad, like you pointed out. But yeah, that was just one little thing that I wasn't sure whether there was information for. Well, I think we're ending on this note.
I guess we are.
Yeah. I think that
Nothing to
that's
be
the
nervous
most exciting thing.
Are you less nervous now?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty chill. Everybody's just talking stuff. So it's pretty chill.
It's really just a conversation with face cams.
Yeah.
And like looky
People.
loose over there.
Just a few voyeurs over there. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
People peeking in the window.
Oh, those creeps.
Then do we go in the same order again? Mairian, do you want to quickly let us know? Let people know where they can find you and what they can expect from you.
Well, they can find me on Twitch with the same name. And I will stream softcore trade and play the build that I said and try my best. And if I can kill Awaken Raid with it, or Maven in this case, because that's the new boss, I'm going to be pretty happy. But yeah, I just don't min-max builds. That's what I do. I kill both.
YouTube.
Well, I have a YouTube. Yeah, I do some build reviews. I don't do build guides. I do build reviews on my YouTube. That the ones I play. Yeah. They're very short, but I do short videos usually on YouTube, just some Path of Exile. I did an Advent, Path of Exile inspired Advent. That was lots of fun. Lots of people participated. And yeah, YouTube, same name. Twitch, same name.
You also do this what was it called? A Raycast Weekly, like a news show where you cover whatever happened in that week?
Yeah, yes, I do Rayclass Weekly, but well, it's just again a very short recap. There's not lots of this. It's not like a discussion or like very in-depth look into the week because that would take a long time. First of all,
but it's bite-sized content. It might be exactly those 2 or 3 minutes that someone needs to fill, like a train ride or ride on the bus.
Well, 2-3 minutes. I don't know if train rides are that short, but still, yeah. So that's a weekly thing I do about Path of Exile. Even during the month that was during Christmas, it was rough, but I did it. I got through it.
Those were all more on the 2-minute side, I assume.
Yes.
Not a lot going on.
Sometimes we have guests that are really blow it out of the ballpark on that. We also have some fun skits. So yeah, that's what I do.
I thought that was a pretty good promo. And Tryxt, where can we see you race for the Maven kill?
Oh god, I will not be a true competitor on that. I'll attempt to do my best, but that'll fail miserably. You can see me fail miserably at www.twitch.tv/Tryxt. Or I do have a YouTube as well under the same name, which isn't the most active. I'm planning on increasing that by a little bit. Otherwise, you can check me out at www.onlyfans.com. No, I'm kidding.
I was already sitting on the edge of my seat. Why are you doing like that?
Yeah, come on by. Check out the stream. I play solo self-found hardcore primarily and just make sarcastic comments for 90% of the time. So view at your own peril. But yeah, otherwise find me on Twitch, find me on YouTube, and not really active on Twitter. So.
Rip.
Awesome. Well, exactly. No, I lost track. Guys, make sure you follow those 2 guest broadcasters, Mairian and Tryxt, and check out what they're doing coming Friday for the league start. And other than that, I don't have that much to add. You know where to find BalorMage and myself, and where you can find BalorMage on YouTube is also where you find the VOD of this almost 4-hour monster podcast.
Ooh.
And if you're not into watching the VOD because you're like, I don't want to see those faces, even though I wouldn't know why, but then you could still check out the audio version, which you can find on most audio podcast platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, and all the funky names that I can't remember.
It has been 4 hours, but it's been a very enjoyable 4 hours. So thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
The time flew. Was great.
Yes.
And a lot of times I found myself, I mean, I don't think I didn't talk enough. Like I did get to utter my opinion more than enough. But I also had like long passages of almost 20 minutes where I didn't say anything myself, but I was just listening and kind of relating to the different perspectives provided. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot as well. Great.
Look, most of my favorite episodes are when we've got people who play the game differently than me. Right? Because like, if everybody played like I did, then it's a really boring podcast.
Yeah.
But I love it when everybody's different.
Well, there's so many ways to play the game, so that's great.
Yeah.
It allows all those different play styles.
I think we can all agree the only person playing the game wrong is the guy who just sits in the hideout and flips all day. That's the wrong way to play.
I mean, is he really playing? I mean, according to Chris, didn't he say that it's actually a valid way to play? He did actually say it. So.
But then also Chris accidentally banned him for thinking he was a bot too. So it's a whole.
It's a whole another story, yeah.
But yeah. Wait, yeah, please say.
That was it. That's it.
That was it. Well, yeah, we talked a whole long time, but we still didn't get through everything. Normally, in these early or late times, in the hype time before the league start, we try to have 2 podcasts in quick succession. But this time, it was all a little bit more condensed, so we won't have time to do another podcast before the league starts. But we'll definitely, if nothing happens out of the ordinary, we'll return as usual in 2 weeks from now, which will be the 23rd of January and 9 p.m. GMT as usual on this channel. My name is Catmaster, and you listened to Mairian, Tryxt, and BalorMage on the Faded Connections podcast. Thanks everyone for watching, listening, and have a beautiful league start into Echoes of the Atlas.